Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Two Abdullahs with your two favorite naughty, bad Muslims. The two Abdullahs, Abdullah Sameer and Abdullah Gondal. How's it going, Gondal?
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me back on the show. I miss you guys a lot, and today we have a very interesting topic. After discovering the brothel of Allah in heaven, we are now going to turn to his psychotic torture lair, where he does such unimaginable forms of punishment that would put to shame the most imaginative psychopath on earth. Uh, Before we begin, big disclaimer, we understand that this episode is going to be very dark in its nature with its content, so your discretion is advised because, like I said, Allah has no filter and He is very explicit sometimes. We also do understand that the topic of hell is very sensitive to a lot of Muslims and ex-Muslims and people of other faiths like Christianity and other faiths too, because it's so dark and it can cause a lot of people emotional trauma, especially children. So, with that disclaimer and warning aside, we will try to make this as humorous as we can. But again, we aren't psychopaths that we can keep on these weird torture things. But with that aside, I will let Sameer show us the first video, which talks about the levels of hell. So, interestingly, hell has levels, 7 levels, like Jannah. And Jannah, I think, has 7 levels as well, or a few levels, and 8 gates, and hell has different gates as well.
Hi. So before we start, thank you to P for your donation. Salutations to the two Abdullahs, likes and subscribers be upon them. Thanks for your work. And also wanted to say, shout out to Calpurnia for joining the channel as well. Welcome to being a member of the team. To Zizan on Faith, a good buddy, a good friend as well, who is also putting out some really nice work. Thanks for being here for us, and we really appreciate you. All right, so just as Abdullah Gondal was saying, one of the best ways to take the punch out of something as serious and scary as hell is to mock the hell out of it, right? When something is being used in order to terrify people, one of the best things you can do is just make fun of it, because it's not real. It's something that is made as a psychological mechanism to scare you, to make you think that you need to change your whole life and do what it's commanding. But we know it's not true. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to make it lighthearted as much as possible. And like he said, we're not psychopaths. We're not laughing at actual tortures. And just to give a little story before we start, when I left Islam, I had a family member, and this family member like started crying and saying, "You're gonna go to hell." And I almost started laughing, because from my perspective, I was like, "You're crying for something that's imaginary. Like you guys are crying like Harry Potter is real and he's gonna like shoot me with his little, his little magic wand or something." That's how I was thinking. From my perspective, as a rationalist, I was like, you feel so bad for me that you're crying, but none of this is real. Like, there's no need to cry. I understand you want me to be guided, and I understand it's coming from a good place, but it's not real. So that's what we want to achieve with this episode. We want to show, where is this coming from? What was the point of this? How we'll get into some of the graphic stuff as well.
Well, before we start, I just want to drop a little bit of neuroscience into it, just to let you know that what is the point of fear. So there's a part of the brain, just in very simple terms, called the amygdala, which deals with these fear response and emotional responses related to these sudden triggers. So when you are experiencing adrenaline or a flight or fight response, what essentially happens is the frontal part of your brain, the frontal cortex, kind of shuts down in a way, and the midbrain takes control, which is the more instinctive part of the brain. This is a protective mechanism created by the brain when, if, for example, if a bear jumps in front of you, if you use your frontal cortex to think, it'll take too long, you'll probably die. So the midbrain takes over, and it has hardwired survival instincts. And with training, you can put people through this, so it's more protective. So once you do that, what the point is that if you're in a stress response and if you can scare the believer so much, his frontal cortex, his rationale literally shuts down. That's the whole point of it. That's what fear does to the brain. So if you can do that, like imagine you're standing in salah and you're hearing these verses of these crazy tortures, you'll get scared and your rationality will shut down and your emotional brain is fully active, and that's where it happens, the magic of fear, in indoctrination.
Okay, so I'm gonna start with the video that you found first.
Gehinnom. This gate is called Gehinnom because the fire will scourge the faces of the men and women who enter it. This is in response to their obstinacy and resistance in the life of this world. Just as they continue to reject obedience to Allah and submission to Him, likewise the fire will continue to burn up their flesh. And when it reaches the point of almost being obliterated, Allah will remove the old flesh and replace it with new flesh, a just recompense for their rebellion in this life. Lada. This level of hell is called Lada because the fire will eat away at their body parts one by one, both internally and externally. It will invite those who abandoned Tawheed and turned away from that which the Prophet ﷺ came with. Saqar. It is called Saqar because it will eat up the flesh of the human being and not his bones. There are a total of 4 things that they were guilty of, which ultimately landed them at this level of the hellfire. The first, they did not offer salat. The second, they did not feed the poor. The third, they used to talk vainly with those who talk in vain. And the fourth, they used to deny and reject the day of recompense. Al-Hutama. It is called Al-Hutama because it will shatter the bones of the human being and burn the heart and other internal organs. The fire will start at his feet and burn all the way through until it reaches the heart. Jahim. This gate is called Jahim because it is actually one big piece of hot coal that is bigger than the lowest heaven as we know it. The crimes of the one who enters this particular gate are: the first, he did not have the correct belief in Allah, and the second, he refused to give the creation their rights and he did not encourage the feeding of the poor. Sa'ir. This gate of hell is called As-Sa'ir because it is constantly kindling. Rather, it has never ceased to kindle from the moment it was created. In it are 300 castles, and in each castle there are 300 houses, and in each house there are 300 types of punishments. There are scorpions and snakes, ropes, chains, and shackles. Al-Hawiyah. This gate of hell is called Al-Hawiyah because whoever enters this level of the hellfire will never come out. In this level of the hellfire there is a mountain made of fire, and the enemies of Allah will be laid on their faces on this mountain. Their hands will be tied to their necks, and their necks will be tied to their feet, and over them will stand the Zabaniya, who are the angels that will guard this particular level of the hellfire.
All right.
That was quite a lot. I mean, the ending with the guy's his hands and his feet, like what is like this Olympian pretzel man or something?
Yeah, I feel like they're adding some extra detail that I haven't read in the Quran.
Yeah, no, there's definitely some detail that's taken from Hadith and tafsirs and whatnot. But one that stood out to me was this, I think one of them was it said it'll burn the flesh but not the bones, which kind of implies that Allah has like the temperature of the fire like really to the point He's like controlled,
Yeah.
Oh man, like
we
toast.
we we have a person, he's already converted back to Islam.
Oh no, oh no. Actually, I mean, there's this movie I once watched. It's so gory. I don't know why it even exists. It's called The Hostel.
Uh-huh.
And all it is these kids go to this vacation in Europe or something, and they get abducted by these rich people, and all they do is just torture them in these obscure rooms.
Allah made that movie.
I know, I think Allah goes above and beyond that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So continue to next okay.
Yeah,
So
let's move on, because I mean, this is just the start, man. It's just like 40 slides of just Quran and torture. So
one of our friends, both of a mutual friend of ours, wrote this quote, which I thought was really beautiful. So God, who created the universe billions of light years across, more stars in the known universe than there are grains of sand in all the worlds, black holes that eat entire suns like volcanoes swallow fleas, is waiting to torture poor little humans, these tiny mass of atoms, for all time, everlasting eternity, because they didn't find evidence to believe in him? On the other hand, you, because you believe in him without even understanding the language he speaks, the Hafs Arabic, apparently, you, my friend, will have virgins, fruits, rivers of wine and ginger water, pomegranates for all eternity, forever and ever. I think that just like
sums it up.
that beautifully says it.
It's kind of also weird that why is God so hell-bent on torturing just pesky humans for not following his commands? It's so bizarre. I mean, it also comes back to megalomania, right? Like there's one quotation that keeps popping up everywhere. It's like, God loves you so very much that he created hell just in case you don't love him back.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like with hell, there's no way to learn from your mistake. So it doesn't make sense from a rational perspective. What's the point of punishing someone if they cannot learn from it? It just makes there's no point. It's just your life is done. I mean, there's no reason, right? I mean, if you compare the concept of like a rebirth, reincarnation, that would be more just, even though it's just as made up, but it could be more logical even than saying, this like gigantic test, and then at the end you just have like one giant either punishment or the reward. It's just so ridiculous. It's so high stakes. It's like ultimate high stakes, but if you get it wrong, you're just screwed. It just doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah.
And the God that actually allows people to go to hell, what kind of God is that? What kind of God creates people knowing that all of these people, 80% of them, and I say 80% because I'm looking at the number that are Muslim, it's probably even more than that, because if you consider even from 80%, which are non-Muslim, 20% are Muslim, 1/5 of the world's population, most of them are in the wrong sect. So you have 10, you have Shias, which are like, 10 million, you have the Ismailis, you have Ahmadis, you have even other similar like Baha'i. All of those people are not Muslim, apparently. Just the Sunnis are Muslim if you're Sunni, and if you're Shia, then only the Shias are going to heaven. And then even the majority, I don't know if Shias say that only Shias go to heaven and Sunnis go to hell, but the point is you're in the wrong sect. So the number is probably even more than 80% are going to hell.
Well, I remember, I don't know if it's one hadith that says to take like every 99 out of the 100 and put them in hell or something. Is it?
Yeah. There's a hadith like that talks about isn't it 999 out of 1,000? And then he said, and then the faces meant white. And he said, oh no, that's Gog and Magog. That's from
Oh man, this whole like apocalyptic this posthumous torture reward thing is so bizarre and so not thought out. Like it's so inconsistent in so many different ways, man. One of the things I found interesting is like, so Allah doesn't forgive shirk ever, right? But then it says in I think Surah Furqan, is it that yubaddilullahu sayyi'atihim hasanat, that Allah will change their bad deeds to good deeds. So if you're a kafir and you keep doing shirk, that shirk will still be forgiven, right? But then there's another category which forms a lot of debate in the theological, like the subsects of Islam, like Wahhabis versus the Deobandis and Sunnis and Barelvis. Like, can you pray to Muhammad and all that stuff too? And that could be shirk too. And then people ask, well, can you forgive that? Grave worship and all. So it's quite an interesting thing, right? Where would Allah forgive? Because it could be a contradiction in a theological sense. Does Allah say He will never forgive shirk? Or then He says, if you convert, I will forgive it.
Yeah, I found that hadith, and welcome to the new members, Dark Matter and Manobik. Wow, a lot of new members today. I think people are really appreciating this content. This was a hadith that you were talking about, where it says Muhammad was saying, this was in Bukhari, that Adam will say, we're going to hell. Adam is asking about his children, and Allah will say, out of every 1,000, take 999. So, and then basically the people all like freaked out when Prophet said that, like, holy metal, right? Then he's like, okay. I love how the narrator like preserved that in the hadith. And then he's like, no, guys, I didn't mean that. I just meant Gog and Magog. You guys are fine. Gog and Magog will be the 999, and one of you guys. So where's the math here? Like, what's the final number? So it's 990.
Well, if you do the math, there's been about 100 billion humans that have lived on the earth. So,
Yeah.
And Allah keeps repeating, وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ, that most people don't believe.
Yeah.
So if you do the math, it's like the weirdest divine plan or game or the Sims that Allah has created, where He made such a flawed plan that everybody of His creation, most of them just go burn in hell.
That's what I'm saying. It's just like, it's such a flawed product. Humans are so flawed. I mean, who do you blame? And if you look at the math, which the master Arab did, if you look at 99%, I don't know if I'm doing this right, divide by 99.999, the number is mass. Like the number of people, the number of Gog and Magog is like what is this? 100 trillion. Like there's 100. Is that even right? So 100.
I don't know.
100 billion. As 100 billion Gog and Magog. If you had 100, I don't know if I'm
because you just times by 1,000.
Oh, sorry, it should be times 999 because because there's only one of us. So if there's 100 billion humans, times 999, there'd be 999 of them. So you can't even look at this number. Is insanely huge. It's 999 and 13 zeros.
Well,
13 times.
What's funny is there's a hadith that I didn't put in the presentation, but I randomly came across it. It's that Gehinnom is a wild animal, and there are ropes tied to it on each side on the outside, and there's 70,000 angels holding the ropes from it to going crazy and eating everything.
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah, like this stuff doesn't actually obviously it's not really logical. Let's continue the presentation.
All right.
Who goes to hell? So we're talking about who goes to hell here. Indeed, Allah does not forgive association with Him, which is shirk, but forgives what is less than that for whom He wills, and blah blah blah. Okay, and then another verse: Allah has cursed the disbelievers and prepared for them a blaze. And then this hadith I think is so important and so gives a lot of context that by him in whose life is the hand. By him in whose hand is the life of Muhammad. So that's a form of emphasis. Whenever Muhammad used to swear by Allah has me in his hands, he's making it like really strong, a really strong oath. He who amongst the community of Jews or Christians hears about me, does not affirm his faith, his belief in that which I have sent, and dies in the state, he will be one of the denizens of hellfire. So Muhammad is saying every single Christian and Jew that knows about me and doesn't believe in me will go to hell. So this kind of poo-poos on the idea that many Muslims try to bring forward, which is that like a lot of non-Muslims will be forgiven because they didn't get the message or whatever. But it's quite clear from the hadith that Muhammad is saying, if you know about me, then and you don't believe in me, then you're screwed. And I mean, who doesn't know about Islam nowadays? Everybody knows about Islam.
So internet, like everybody's doomed.
And then they'll say, well, no, they don't know Islam properly. So what does that mean? They need to take an Islam 101 class from the Dawah guys where they don't tell you that you will be killed if you leave Islam.
Well, and then which sect? Do you go to the Ahmadi Islam, the Ismailis, the Barelvis, the Wahhabis, which one?
and then like, so what constitutes knowing Islam properly? It's just a made up sort of idea that these people will not. It's not even. Anyways, we'll get to that. But the point is that it's enough to know about Muhammad that if you know about him and you don't believe in him, you'll go to hell. Do you want to
read? How long is hell for? And they will call Malik, let your Lord put an end to us. He will say, indeed, you will remain. And then in the next verse, do not cry this day. I think I remember the Arabic. Something like that. Don't call for one destruction, but many. Abide therein eternally. The punishment will not be lightened for them, nor will they be deprived. Thus Allah will show them their deeds as regrets for them, and they will never get out of the fire. So one thing is that there is the argument some people pose that you go and get tortured in hell proportionate to your sins, and once you've been cleansed by the burning and punishment, then you get put in heaven. But then there's explicit verses of the Quran that add the phrase "Khalidina fiha abada," which means forever, like the word abada. So there has been a lot of discussion in theology in Islamic circles and scholars, but mostly the most favored opinion is eternally.
Yeah. So the ones that said it wasn't, what Ibn Taymiyyah was one of them, the famous one, who said hell isn't forever, and he had a really weird way of coming up with how, because it seems clear for anyone that reads the Quran that it's like, and the Hadith, there's more Hadith as well that actually emphasizes. There's a Hadith, I don't know if it's in here. Oh yeah, there we go. Death will come on the day of resurrection like a black and white lamb, and it'll stand between paradise and hell. It'll be said, "O people of paradise," you recognize this. They will crane their necks. I don't know why it adds that part. It says, "Yes, this is death." Then it'll be said, "Oh, people of hell," blah blah blah. They'll crane their necks and they'll say, "Yes, this is death." And then death will be slaughtered. Meaning, death is slaughtered. What does that mean?
Nobody can die.
Yeah, it explains. Then it'll be said, "Oh, people of paradise, it is eternal. There is no death. Oh, people of hell, it is eternal, and there is no death." And then Muhammad read the Quranic verse and warned them, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Anyways, the point is, there's a lot of evidence that the Quran, that hell is eternal. But who is hell eternal for? According to Sunni Islam, not for Muslims, only for non-Muslims.
Oh.
So this because when you read it, like you said, it seems to be a contradiction. So the Hadith provide a way out. The Hadith says, the person who will be the last one to enter paradise and the last to come out of hell. So the guy came out of hell and he's going to paradise. He's the very last guy. Will be a man who will come out crawling, and his Lord will say, "Enter paradise." He will say, "Paradise is full." And Allah will say, whatever. He'll say it 3 times. Apparently this guy doesn't listen to Allah the first time. So the third time, he's like, "It's full." And then Allah will say, 10 times the world for you. Like, haha, there you go. Take it. So Allah seems to have a sense of
torturing him for I don't know how miserable way. Then the guy crawls out, Commando Ninja crawls out of hell, saying, "Is it over now?" And then
no, there's no more space for you in heaven.
Like, this is just sadistic weirdness, man.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. Like, after all of this torture, now he's gonna put it in heaven. Like, he should be like, "Fuck you! I don't want you in heaven."
And then Allah affirms. No. But you have to understand, Allah will still affirm Himself. I am the Arhamur Rahimin, even though I did torture you. It was for your benefit.
Oh my God. Yeah. So this is the way that because there's hadith that say that Islam promises paradise. I don't know if we didn't put in that for Muslims. So then question is, what about hell? And here's the answer. The funny thing is the Quran also complains that here's a funny thing. I didn't actually put this in the presentation, but the Quran complains that the Jews say the fire will only touch us for a few days. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me bring it up, because this is kind of interesting, right? This kind of goes against can you see that? Okay. Yeah. They'll say the fire will touch us for a few days, and then it's like, have you made a deal with Allah, or do you say what you don't know? The Muslims now, they're saying the same thing the Quran criticizes the Jews for saying. I mean, I don't even know if the Jews
the irony here is astonishing.
I shouldn't even say, like, Jews don't even believe in hell. Like, I don't even know what it's talking about here. Like,
it developed, I think it might be from the Talmud and the later parts, because it had like 600 years, but still, like, you're right, the idea of Gehinnom and everything, Jahannam, came much later on after Judaism, right?
Yeah, it's part of Christianity, right? Mm-hmm. Jews don't really believe, I think they believe in a shadow world or something, but not an actual like heaven and hell. So it's interesting. Yeah, the Quran actually criticizes people that say, we only will go to hell for a short time.
But then gives the Muslim the same respect.
And then the Muslims say the same thing, like, "Oh, we're gonna go to hell for a short time, and as long as you say la ilaha illallah and you didn't do shirk, right?
Oh no, wait till you get to 2 slides later.
Okay, so this was what I was talking about earlier about those who didn't get the message. It really irritates me that modern, I don't know, many modern Muslims, for scholars, for example, Hamza Yusuf, they try to make it sound like Islam is all about like everyone's gonna go to hell, sorry, heaven, and almost nobody's gonna go to hell. Christians are not gonna go to hell. You know, that hadith that says every one of those Christians and Jews that's going to go to hell. Just forget all that. You know, somehow everyone's gonna be excused because none of them got the message. But apparently, there's going to be another sort of weird test, which is weird because apparently we were just tested. But apparently, Allah doesn't know how to test people properly. So he needs another test for the people who didn't do the test properly the first time. And in the second test,
that's so unfair, man. They get to live life without worrying about heaven and hell.
Yeah.
And then they get a transfer. That's so unfair.
Yeah, exactly. Right?
Images of hell and all this.
And I didn't put it in here, but it's in the link that it says that Allah will test them on the day of judgment, and here's the funny thing. It says that they will be shown a fire and told to jump in it. And if they jump in it, then they'll be better off than if they don't, because apparently you have to jump in it in order to be saved. Right?
That's kind of like Abraham, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like Abraham, right? Yeah, exactly. It's like Abraham, right? It says, if they enter, it'll be cool and safe for them, and he will not be dragged into it, right? So, like, what the hell is this? Like, why?
It is so bizarre. You have to test people, like, jump in that fire. If you jump in, you're going to hell. If you don't,
no. If you jump in, you don't go to hell.
What?
If you jump in the fire, you don't go to hell. If you don't jump, then you'll be thrown in hell. So Allah's doing reverse psychology. Oh, you naughty people. You guys don't listen. I throw you in hell. Okay, so now you guys jump in hell. But please, Allah, we don't want to jump. Okay, I throw you in hell then. I throw you. And the ones who jump in hell, okay, you guys good. You guys jump in hell. I save you now. It's weird, right?
It is so weird.
I'm guessing. I don't know if there's any logic here, but if you want to put some logic here, maybe what happened was the hadith are trying to, because it makes sense. The hadith came later, so the hadith sometimes a method of resolving the theological issues that appeared in the Quran, right? For example, if you look at the hadith about the Quran was revealed in 7 ahruf, that actually solves the problem of why is this like different versions of the Quran, right? Different variants. Right? I mean, same thing with the hadith about jihad. I suspect a lot of those hadiths were invented by the rulers. They wanted the people to, like, ribat. Ribat is something you're avoided for, which is guarding the Muslim country, the frontiers, right? It's like every day you're doing ribat. You're getting the reward of fasting and praying continuously. I mean, which Muslim ruler wouldn't want people thinking that they're getting, like, unlimited?
Well, here's something interesting. Now, if for those who don't know, I was born in Pakistan, and my upbringing was in a very military, closed, like, upbringing. I know a lot of things, and one thing is that the aspect of jihad was so much asserted to these people. In fact, all these songs they'd make, like the fighter planes and all that, and the tanks, and they always use religion every time. I remember this one song where the guy is flying in an F-16 and he looks up the pilot and the names of Allah are flying across the sky. It's just, I even remember the lyrics. Holy shit. But I'm just saying that this isn't just an offshoot. This tactic is employed still to this day, the idea of jihad, by actual armed forces. So one thing is that in at least in the Pakistan army, their clerics, their imams, are actually enrolled army men. So they're paid. They're actually officers sometimes, or like not officers, but airmen and whatnot. And they have everything come to them. They have committees that approve of everything. And I've heard those khutbahs when there will be tension between India and Pakistan. Suddenly all the mosques in the military compound start talking about hurs and Jannah and fighting. So I'm just saying that it still happens.
This kind of disgusted me that I went to an event. This is when I was like almost out of the door of Islam. And I was supposed to be. It was a Ramadan thing, and Sheikh Allah Al Sayed in Toronto was making a khutbah. Not khutbah. It was like a conference, Ramadan conference, and I couldn't believe it. Sounded like, to me, it was like crazy talk. He was saying that he was talking to the Canadian army that was in Afghanistan or something. He was giving them advice, and they were like asking him, how do we fight these people that don't fear death? And he had like this big smile on his face, like, how do you fight people that don't fear death? Like evil, like laugh, not evil laugh, but it was like disturbing. Like, dude, like, is this a death cult we're talking about here? Like,
oh yeah. I would say that there are aspects of Islam that are so troubling that yes, some people could say it has a fascination with death and martyrdom, and it could be in a way death cult. Yes, it's obviously very, very clear with the jihadis and the mujahideen. The amount of verses, like the other day, I was sitting and I made a 38-minute compilation of verses of violence and jihad, and like 22 minutes of it. It's just pure kill them, strike their necks off, their fingertips off, just pure 22 minutes of violence. Then comes the other forms of torture and violence.
Heaven is full no worries today. Sorry, bouncers kicking you out. Sorry, boys.
You gotta tip them with sanat, you know.
Alright, I'll put the slides back on. This is more fun than going to the slides. Okay.
This is what is very important. This makes no sense, dude. What the hell? So this one on the left is the Messenger of Allah said, on the day of resurrection, Allah will deliver to every Muslim a Jew or a Christian and say, this is your ransom from hellfire. Like, dude.
What the heck?
Another narration is the Messenger of Allah said there would come people amongst the Muslims on the day of resurrection with sins as heavy as a mountain, and Allah would forgive them. How is that fair?
How are those two connected in the same hadith? What is it? What is that? Like?
I think he's trying to explain that people can come with, even if you're Muslim, you can have a mountain of sins, but Allah will still give you a Jew or a Christian.
So what happens if because there's more Muslims and Christians and Jews, it's like waiting to get into heaven, and it's like the bouncer at heaven, the angel's like, sorry, I don't got any more Christians and Jews to throw in hell. Sorry, buddy, tough luck. You're gonna have to go to hell because we don't have any more ransom for you guys.
Oh my god. Well, on the right is so explicit. It says, okay, this one's even weird. No Muslim would die, but Allah would admit in his stead a Jew or a Christian in hellfire. Umar bin Abdulaziz took an oath by one who besides whom there is no God, but he thrice that his father had narrated that to him from Allah's messenger. So Muhammad, the guy was like, no, this will actually happen, to the point he affirmed it 3 times hearing it from the messenger. So don't worry, Muslims, if you're about to go in hell, Allah will save you by just putting a Jew or a Christian in there instead of you.
Man, this is weird. I didn't even know about this hadith.
I came across these very recently, like a couple of months ago, and I'm like, wow.
The more you dig, and people ask me, well, when you left Islam, you had like 4 issues. Now you have like 400. Yeah, try reading the Quran more and see what happens.
It's like Yasir Qadhi said, it's the mother of all holes, the greatest of all black holes.
Oh my god.
Okay.
So
another video. So from this point on, the things are about to, if you thought what we were talking about right now was depressing, violent, gory, and sad, well, things are about to take a step up, like a couple of notches, so be prepared. Anyways, let's hear Yasir Qadhi for 2 minutes.
Also said he saw many of the punishments of hell. So in one hadith, the Prophet said, I saw the punishment of the one who stole an orphan's money, that they had noses like that of camels, and they would be eating coals made out of fire, and their mouths would swallow these coals, and it would come out through their anuses. The Prophet said in one hadith that he saw people who had nails of copper, and they were scratching their bodies and their faces with this, and these were the people who used to backbite. The Prophet said, I saw people, they had in front of them pure meat and they had rotten, infested meat. And they were eating the rotten and infested meat and avoiding the pure meat. I said to Jibreel, who are these people? And Jibreel said, these are the people that used to fornicate. They would leave the halal, meaning their spouses, and they would go to the haram. In another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said that he saw people with such large bellies that they could not stand up. They were on the ground. And animals were being brought over them to trample over them as a punishment. And when he asked who they were, Jibreel said, these were the people who would get their money from riba. And the Prophet ﷺ also said that he saw people who were cutting their own lips and their tongues with scissors of copper and scissors of punishment and fire. He asked Jibreel who these people were. Jibreel said these were the people who used to tell others to do good and they would forget themselves. The Prophet ﷺ also said, and I saw Dajjal, and one of his eyes was bloated. In another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said that I saw Dajjal, and I will tell you something about Dajjal that no other prophet has ever told his people, and that is that his left eye is like a rotten grape. And the Prophet ﷺ said, know that Dajjal is a'war, and a'war is one eye.
Oh my God.
Damn. Okay, so one thing that really stood out was the guy compared spouses to rotten or fresh pieces of meat. It's like the lollipop thing, eh? Kind of.
Oh, I couldn't help myself but like act out some of those things. It was just so funny.
Like the creativity. Well, one thing I want to point out is why do we see so much sadistic nonsense in the Quran and so much detailed gore? So for those who don't know, like there's a huge hypothesis and theory that Muhammad has something neurological wrong with him. So if you remember from the presentation, we were talking about the revelation of Saint Brigida, and he actually was telling the same kind of violent description in hell. So there is this aspect of sadistic torture, delusions of persecution and grandeur. The way they kind of come together, they lend to this in a lot of people. But this is just a side point I just wanted to mention.
Yeah.
What's wrong with Muhammad? He probably, again, I will reiterate it if people heard it. I told this thing 3 times in my stream explicitly that this is the most likely, most tenable, most explanatory theory and hypothesis that he was suffering from temporal epilepsy, but we cannot be sure exactly. We can, with a lot of certainty, assert that there is definitely something neurologically wrong. It could be schizophreniform, epileptic, something along those lines. All right, that's what I think was wrong with Muhammad.
Yeah, and someone said, I'm not even laughing. This is the worst of narcissistic and emotional manipulation.
Oh, we haven't even started, buddy. We haven't even started.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone
else said, take a call? Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Someone said children's stories. Someone said they should make a device for saying Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
Auto tune. Well, I think they do say it.
It seems dangerous to believe this. God is about love, not hatred. Yeah, this is the problem. Like, it doesn't really seem to make a lot of sense, right? Like that.
Exactly.
God would do something so harsh like this.
Okay. It's like you tell us that God loves us more than 70 mothers, but then which mother would torture her kid for disobedience? But these, it doesn't make sense.
Indeed. Hello, Aladdin.
Hey,
Greetings.
hello everybody. Greetings.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
How's the weather in Aqraba?
I want to start with the Arabic word for abbreviation for Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. There's an Arabic word for that, and a lot of the Arabic-speaking atheists use it to describe Muhammad these days, and it's Sal'am. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Sal'am.
Oh.
Okay, yeah, I never heard that before.
So you can use that, and the adjective for that is Sala'ima, which mean the people who believe in Sal'am.
Oh, yeah.
Like most, yeah. So we figure out a way to see how to abbreviate Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and also make fun of it in the same time.
Nice.
It's very infuriating for people
Yeah.
who believe in Muhammad. Actually,
Mhm.
they hate that terminology. Anyway, the Jahannam, the Jahim, the hell in Islam. I think the Pascal wager could be flipped over, and rather than believing in God, you should look for the worst Jahannam. You should look for the worst punishment, so you could avoid that rather than trying to get the most benefit of it. I think just like a historical view of that, from what I know, Jahannam or Jahannam was a small trash place next to Jerusalem in the Hebrew history, and it was where the carcasses and the dead animals being thrown.
Oh.
And it was a metaphor for a bad place where people go there to die. And that's where the name came from. And probably it's also a plural of something like
Hello?
Oh, it seems like he got disconnected. Yeah, that I think that is correct. This is what I'm showing on my screen. Gehenna or Gehinnom Valley is thought to be a small valley in Jerusalem. Okay, so basically, yeah, that's what the name.
Okay, sacrifice their children by fire. Oh.
What the? I didn't even notice that, but okay. So we'll. I don't know what happened to Aladdin. Since Ali, Fabulous E seems to have. We seem to have do call back Aladdin, and we will have you back on. You seem to have lost you. Oh, he's back here. Hello.
Two Aladdins.
Are you here, Prince Ali? Hello. Okay, still not here. Okay. Hello, Moet X USA.
I think it's Mo from Texas.
Hello?
USA.
Oh yeah. Hello.
Hello.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Hello? I can hear. I was able to hear you first.
Okay, I guess
Hello?
not. Aladdin, you here? Looks like we have connection problems. Okay, we'll go back to the slides
Okay.
and we'll wait and see if anyone comes back because there's some connection problems, I think. All right, this is a fun conversation. Morning toast.
So now we're getting into this. So this is where, Allah takes it. He says, so we will drive them into the fire, indeed those who disbelieve. Every time their skins are roasted, we will replace them with other skins so they may taste the punishment. Indeed, Allah is exalted and wise. So one thing I want to point out is this exact verse in some twisted. Dr. Zakir Naik used this to say that the Quran is a scientific miracle because this says that the skin is burned and it is necessary to replace it, which means skin has pain receptors in it, therefore miracle. So, I mean, this is obviously nonsense because people from way back, few centuries, people have been burning people for a while. They know that if you burn the skin too much, you can't feel it. Like, there's no miracle here.
Yeah.
The second point is this is sadistic. Like, Allah is so hell-bound on torturing them that He'll burn their skin, but He'll give them new skins every time so they can keep feeling the pain. So it's, I mean, just keep in mind the whole time that every verse we read, I'm going to say, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, actually. So you get that Allah is the most merciful, most loving. But yeah, but notice the megalomania and the sadistic nature of these verses. Let's go on.
Okay, those of you who called in, I'll take you in a couple of minutes. We'll do a couple more slides first.
Okay. Oh, seize and chain them. Hey, Allah likes it rough. Allah says, seize him and shackle him. خُذُوهُ فَغُلُّوهُ ثُمَّ الْجَحِيمَ صَلُّوا, and then into the hellfire drive him. ثُمَّ فِي سِلْسِلَةٍ ذَرْعُهَا سَبْعُونَ ذِرَاعًا فَاسْلُكُوهُ, then into a chain whose length is 70 cubits, insert him. So people will be tied in chains the length of 70 cubits. Now, here's the one thing. Firstly, it's indicative of extreme torture where you can tie the people in a lot of chains. And the second problem is, a lot of people say that because the size of the people in hell will be bigger, therefore you'll need more chain or bigger chains to tie them. So there's these two things. But yeah, no, that's just, I don't know what he means by 70 cubits insert him. Like he put in the thing inside him, like this one, thirsty camel torture. Oh, then indeed you, oh those who stray deniers, we will be eating from the trees of Zakum and filling with it your bellies, and drinking on top of it from scalding water, and will drink as the drinking of thirsty camels. Allah is saying here that there's this special bitter tree who has a fruit called zakum. It's a tree in the bottom of hell, and its heads, if you were to read other surah, it says كأنهم رؤوس الشياطين, that its fruits are like the heads of Satan. So it has fruits that look like little Satan heads. And people will, it's thorny, so when you eat it, it like gets thorny and it burns your inside and whatnot. And on top of that, Allah will give them boiling water to drink and then make them drink it like thirsty camels. Like, dude, the point that a human has to get to think and come up with this such creative torture is troubling in and of itself. And then attributing to a God and then calling him merciful, it's ridiculous.
It's interesting that Muhammad actually did something in his life, apparently, according to the Hadith. He burned people's eyes out and, crucified them and left them to die in the desert. So he was pretty barbaric himself. And then
beheaded a whole tribe of kids.
He tortured Kinana for his buried treasure, and slept with Safiya the same night he killed her. Anyways, so okay, before we get to the next one, should we actually, let's do some more and then we'll take the calls, because I don't want to, this is all on the same topic.
Oh shit, and more camels. Damn, Allah has a camel kink. Why is this camel and torture? I want to know if there's any Hadith Muhammad doing stuff on the camel at night. Okay, it says, proceed to a shadow of smoke having 3 columns, but having no cool shade and availing not against the flame. Indeed, it throws sparks as huge as a fortress, as if they were yellowish black camels.
What? What does that even mean?
So I guess there's this fire. When you light fire, right? Like the coal or something, you see these sparks.
Maybe it's just like, yeah.
And I guess those sparks are like big fortresses, but I guess those fortresses are shaped like yellow camels.
So weird. So weird. I'd just love to see a painting of this, like camel, spark, fortress, fire. Like, what the hell is this?
Camel humping.
Weird. I mean, if you think about it, like I've read this surah like so many times without thinking twice, and I think in the back of my mind, I'm like, what does that even mean? Oh my God. But now we're actually like sitting and laughing at it. It's like, what does it mean? Like, it's so weird. I just want to read a couple of comments because some really fun comments here. Allah has Jacob says Allah has more criminal records than Satan.
Well, actually, if you think about it, Allah will torture and burn and more people than Satan ever could imagine. Allah puts every psychopath to shame. He's the biggest psychopath of all.
Oh my, that's actually a really good point. I swear I'm gonna have nightmares tonight. Bilal, just do your Ayatul Kursi, it'll be fine.
From the waswasa of shaitan from hearing the Quran.
Ryan says I was suffering.
Who's the bad guy here? Actually, the lines are very blurry.
What happened?
Who's the bad guy here? Lines are very blurry.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know. It does seem like Allah's the bad guy, isn't it?
Almost. Oh wow. Oh.
And this is what we're joking too. Listen, dude, be careful the way you read the verses. Makes me want to convert. Yeah, I know, eh? We were joking about this before. What if people actually like, oh my God, I'm so scared, I want to go back to Islam. Afif, a regular viewer said, isn't burning people and torturing them the definition of merciful?
It's the epitome of mercy. You can't get it. In fact, the Yaqeen article talks about this, and it says that Allah burning you is like a surgeon trying to remove an infected limb off of your body. He's taking the sins off of your soul, purifying you by torturing you. Just try to make it make sense in your...
Okay. Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna see this. What? Oh, what? Geez, a bunch of donations too. Sorry for this being off topic, but I want to know what Gondal plans to do after getting his PhD, research or teaching. Also, when does he finish? What made him choose neuroscience? Also, keep the mustache. Gondal looks great on you.
Thank you. So, firstly, my background is in pharmacy. So I'm starting from scratch in neuroscience. So it's gonna be a while. Also, like, so it'd be a bit till I finish my PhD, and depends on what I do, what research I do. I haven't decided if I'm gonna stick with like, am I going to neuropharmacology because it ties in with my pharmacy background very well. Again, am I going to epileptology or study of consciousness and comatose states? There's just so much to do, right? And there's molecular neuroscience. I'd say about 10 years, maybe I'll finish, maybe in 7, who knows. What made him choose neuroscience? I like to know everything about the thing that lets me know anything. That's one of the reasons, is because it's a fundamental aspect of human experiences. If you can understand that, you can understand a lot, and it has amongst one of the most severest ramifications for philosophers as well, in the idea that how neuroscience is coming up with its conceptions of sense of self and whatnot is just so vividly different from what we've known in the past, that the ramifications are that. And it's also very complex, so I like complexity and understanding the brain. As for the mustache, thank you. I'll keep it. It was inspired by Salvador Dali, Spanish, I think it's Spanish painter, right? Big mustache guy. His mustache would sometimes go to his ear. I'm not gonna make it that long. Don't worry. But thank you for the compliment.
And thank you kindly for the
Thank you
donation.
so much for the donation. Thank you.
Very generous. And I met Allah and Jesus in the red light district. Yeah, what the heck is this kind of comment? I don't know if I want to read this on the air.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go to the next one. But thank you for your knocks. Don't know what currency that is, but I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Okay, I need to get that off the screen quickly. Okay, there we go. We'll take the calls before we get back to the topic again. Mo, you don't have a mic. I cannot add you. You need to fix your mic before I can add you. I will add Dark Matter and then Eve. Dark Matter, can you just turn off the video while you watch? Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Dark Matter.
I'm gonna read this on the air.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go to the next one. But
okay, I'm gonna have to move you for 1 second because I'm hearing my video. Eve, hello, Eve.
Hi. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Hi, how's it going?
Okay. I just had 2 questions. I don't know if you guys are gonna get to it in like later on. But just I wanted to know if there were any parallels between the Muslim hell and then like the Christian hell, if Muhammad also borrowed from Christianity in regards to that. And then the second question was, there's something I heard about when I was younger growing up. People told me that if you were in hell, you would sometimes be granted shade underneath a tree that was a little bit like outside of hell. But I don't know what that was about. And I just wondered like who that applied to. That was all.
Okay, thank you for your questions. Thank you so much. For the first one, Christian hell, I think it does borrow a few ideas. In fact, if you look at the evolution, like it kind of grows from this valley in Jerusalem, like we were talking about, and then when Jesus comes along, it becomes like a lake of fire and other tortures, and then it keeps evolving after Jesus and other writings, and then by the time you get to Muhammad, it also has the Arabic mystery and folklore there attached to it too. We won't be getting into the details of the borrowings and stuff, but we will get into the details about the least punishment and the least punished person. So the least punishment, I think, is mentioned about the Prophet's uncle, where he would get sandals or of coal, and he'll wear them, and it will make his brain boil. That's the least punishment. I know it sounds really crazy, but that's the least one. There's this other one I've heard for the uncle of Muhammad. I don't know if it's authentic, where because he helped Muhammad, Allah will turn one of his pinky fingers into water, so he can like rub it in his mouth or something to ease off some of the torture pain. If that answers the question.
And in regard to the other question, there is this concept of shade on the day of judgment. Allah will give shade to so many sorts of people. There's people that, you know, that the man who didn't do zina, and the man that like, and the people that, you know, whatever. There's a bunch of categories. But in terms of the tree, there is a tree. I just saw it, but that's not connected to the shade on the day of judgment. There's just a big tree. Oh, here it is. There's a big tree in paradise. I don't know if this is the same thing that you heard about. That was outside of hell or whatever like that, but it might just be like an apocryphal story, meaning, you know, like things that in the culture, in the popular culture, there's a lot of stories that are created that people, you know, share, but they're not necessarily from the hadith, right? Could be, I don't know.
I'm just having a hard time finding any kind of record of this tree in between hell and heaven.
There is something else, which is the place mentioned in Surah Araf, which is kind of like a dangling place for people who are neither in hell nor in heaven. So they kind of just stand on a middle place and they can see both of the sides. And it's weird because I don't know why this occupies a bunch of verses in the Quran. And it's like Allah is waiting for them to like make a decision on their thing. So maybe they're waiting. They're not being punished or being rewarded. So it could be, it seems like a lot of crossover happened with ideas.
Yeah. Thanks for your call and for your question.
Thank you so
much. I never studied actually the Christian idea of hell, so I don't even really know the answer to the commonality or if there's any. It does seem like a lot of the stuff in the Quran is very specific to camels and dates and whatever Muhammad was thinking about, I guess. So yeah, thanks for your call.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm gonna try Dark Matter again.
All right.
Dark Matter, hello.
Yeah, hi.
Hello.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Oh yeah. I can't say my name. I just want to go by Dark Matter. I wanted to share a few ideas about why hell is so, like, you know, tough. I think one of the reasons is because if you have a theory that is not true and you don't have any way to prove it, the best way is to back it up with threat. Like, you know, so if you back it up with like absolute threat, no one is gonna refute it. So basically, it's a way of like enforcing an idea that is not true, but for that's why it has to be very like so convincing, like so backed up with threat. So I think that's one of the reasons the hell was described so like brutal. And another thing in Islam, I think, you know, like, you know, whenever we use computer, like everything we use, like they can track us, they know everything about us, like, you know, all information and everything. So that through that, they can really control each and every human being on earth. So in the earlier stages, when religion came into being, especially Islam, so the way the practices of Islam, the Hadith, everything is designed in such a way that every Muslim is controlled, because they didn't have computer, they didn't have AI, artificial intelligence back then. So the only way, the primitive way of controlling human beings, to, like, according to like the way Prophet Muhammad wanted, because Islam is nothing the mind of Prophet Muhammad. So you want to make sure everyone is controlled from going to the bathroom, anything you do, it's under his like prescription, like the way he wants it to be. So that was like a primitive way of controlling. Now we have AI. I mean, it's easier, but that was the, like, I think the idea originated from religion, where you can control the masses using.
Yeah. Well, Karl Marx did say religion is the opium of the masses. It does make sense, actually. I think that's a very good quote, very pertinent, very true quote. I don't know how AI is controlling us. I hope AI is not controlling us yet, because
it's not controlling, but it has information. Like when you use the like different social media sites and everything, they have a psychological profile of everybody.
Yeah.
Now, if anyone wants to use it to their benefit, they can use it, but they are not like religious leaders. That's why they're not going to use it.
Yeah, there are social and ethical challenges with the amount of information that social media has about us, and that is a valid point. I don't call that AI. That's not really AI. That's more like mass information or something. But anyways,
use machine learning just to get all the information. So all your
I mean, that is a good point. I mean, I don't know if that's really connected to religion, but I see where you're coming from. I understand your point. Yeah, thank you. Do you have any question, or just wanted to make that
No,
reflection?
that's all. I just wanted to share a
Yeah,
few thoughts.
absolutely. Religion is it's control. It's definitely control. Do you have anything to add to that, Gondal?
I would say like the part about so I would make an analogy is imagine yourself wearing a body cam that's 24/7 recording everything you do, and then you have CCTV cameras watching you from 3 different angles at all times, and your thoughts are not your own.
Yes.
Think about it. Is it scary? It is, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Imagine that religion, like he's saying, tried to implement a cruder version of this thousands of years ago in the form of a supernatural, non-existent deity doing all of these surveillance things, right?
Yeah, absolute dictatorship. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's in essence, I get what you're trying to say, and like you said, it is a mental mind control prison where you're told that you can't do anything, you're always being watched, and basically, yeah, when you actually think about it in real life, having a human watch you like that, then you realize, oh, okay.
And Prophet Muhammad, right? He always wanted like control over people. He has a
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's why All right. Thanks.
Authoritarianism. Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I even would go a little bit further than that and just say that it wasn't just Prophet Muhammad, but it's it extends into the Hadith, which is it's more than just Muhammad, right? It's all of the scholars that came after, which worked with the political empires, right? Like they were never independent. Religion and politics always went hand in hand, and even what was preserved, who was preserved by. Sean Anthony has a story in his book about how these there was this story, the Sira collection that one of the I forgot the name now, one of the famous scholars had, but the problem is it had some things against the Uthmani family, right? The dynasty, I mean, right? And so the leader refused to print or allow this Sira to be spread because it was very political, right? So they didn't want to spread stories against their own family, right? So because it put the Umayyads in bad light, right? So the Caliph decided not to spread the story, which is how I think I think it would make an interesting video on just how much religion has controlled politics has controlled religion in modern day Saudi Arabia as well. I mean, the unholy alliance between
especially with religions like Islam who are political in nature and like who are one of the goals is to strive to establish a political form of Islam like a caliphate, right? So they're intrinsically political. You can't separate them like that.
Okay, last caller, and then we'll go. We are honored to be in your presence, anonymous Sheikh of Islam. Sheikh ul Islam, the Sheikh of Islam. How are you? Are you here? Ibn Taymiyyah is not here. Sheikh ul Islam. Okay. Sorry. I guess we won't be taking any more calls right now.
Let's get back to the presentation.
Okay.
Crush their hearts with fire. Oh, so this is Surah 104:4. No, he will surely be thrown into the crusher. And what can make you know what is the crusher? Crush. Narullahi muqada. It is the fire of Allah, fueled. التي تطلع على الأفئدة, which mounts directed at the hearts. إنها عليهم مؤصدة. Indeed, hellfire will be closed down upon them. في أمد ممددة, in extended columns. So
these are surahs that little kids memorize.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I've memorized. I can close my eyes. I still remember these surahs. The last part of the Quran. Still remember it.
What great wisdom to memorize and to spread all over the world.
And the thing is, like children. I mean, in Pakistan, we children don't really know because we're just reciting the words, so we don't understand the Arabic. But Arab children, yeah, they know. They'll get it.
Yeah, some of it. Yeah.
It's very, very dark. And kids, I know so many kids. In fact, I remember this is what my grandfather used to tell me. And this was about 10, 15 years ago, maybe when I was young, and I was very religious. And he told me one thing over and over again. He said, do not read any book written on the description of hellfire, you will go crazy. He said you might go crazy because he had seen a few people go crazy. And yeah, he warned me not once, not twice, a bunch of times to stay away from reading more into this. But yeah, I understand why, because it's scary. And if you can scare somebody into thinking that this kind of torture is awaiting them potentially, then you have so much control over them. That is the problem with cults, right?
Yeah.
As soon as you can get them, it's one, and then it's a slippery slope.
Yep. There's some really crazy examples. I was trying to find one of them. I heard it in the khutbah about this young boy that felt so guilty because of what he was. I don't know. He did zina or something like that. I don't even know if he did zina. He just looked at a woman or something. This is a young boy. And
I know the story. It's the Arab sheikh that tells the story and he cries at the end.
I mean, I heard the story from probably a different sheikh than you did, but the story is there in the seerah somewhere in the hadith or something. And the boy like died or killed himself or something. And it just shows you that, like, I mean, I don't know if this. And then there's an example that boy in Pakistan who cut off his own hand.
Blasphemy or something, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it does the guilt, and then if it's true, the hadith about the woman who admitted to doing zina and she was stoned to death. I mean, the religion can put massive guilt on you, right? And
it's crazy. To the point where it's self-harm. Like what you've essentially done is there was this lady, you've convinced her that there exists this unverifiable supernatural God and he's pissed at her, so therefore she needs to kill herself. And she does kill herself. It's all sorts of fucked up. And I don't know what else way to explain it. And the point being further is you're taking the mom away from the child.
Yeah.
He needs her.
Yep.
You're creating an orphan, another Muhammad. Because why is Muhammad like this? Why do we see constant verses about orphanage and whatnot in the Quran? Muhammad was an orphan. He lost his dad before he was born, his mom when he was 6, his other uncle when he was a little older. He was moving around, and we all knew what happened to orphans back in the day. So that's one of the reasons you'll see him constantly come back to it a lot.
Yeah.
I could feel the rage. And for those who disbelieve in the Lord is the punishment of hell, and wretched is their destination.
It just gets tiring. It's like the same thing over and over and over and over, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the same threats. It's when they are thrown into it, they hear from it a dreadful inhaling while it boils up. It almost bursts with rage every time a company is thrown into it. Its keepers ask them, did there not come to you a warner? So Allah is basically, there's these companies and groups of people like, yalla, yalla, get into hell. The angel Malik is throwing them in. And then he's taunting them. Yeah, I'm throwing you in, right? No messenger came to you?
Oh, yeah. That's an interesting point there.
It's just taunts and it's all sorts. It's so dark. It's so dark.
Yeah.
All right, what's this one? Let's see. Oh, on the day, the punishment will cover them from above them and from below their feet. And it says, taste the result of what you used to do. Up, down, left, right. Now, one thing I don't understand is, do you, as a normal, decent human being, find the punishment proportionate to the crime in this situation? The fact that somebody disbelieved in a God out of 4,000 religions, all having next to no evidence, and he's being treated like this, and it's disproportionate punishment, right? So this is also an idea of like, what is justice in Allah's eye? Because, anyways, let's go forward.
Okay. Smokes me.
You can do this one.
Smokes me sandwich. And the companions of the left, what are the companions of the left? They will be in scorching fire and scalding water and a shade of black smoke, neither cool nor beneficial. All right. So it's talking about the companions of left and right. It uses this imagery of a left hand. People will get the book in the left hand, people that get the book in the right hand, people that get the book behind their backs. They will be in scorching fire and scalding water and a shade of black smoke. Oh, so you do get shade. It's a shade of smoke, but apparently, I guess it's a bad shade for some reason. Allah has to
Yeah.
clarify. You think you're getting shade, but it's not good. It's not cool nor beneficial. This is bad shade.
Allah is so mad, eh? Like he's so weird. Where for Abraham he made it wasalam bardan wasalamun ala Ibrahim, and made it the coolness for him, the whole fire he was thrown into. But no, for these guys, I gotta make sure they don't even get the littlest bit of niceness from me.
Yep. Angel slap.
What?
How will it be when angels take them in death, striking their faces? and
Like,
their
dude,
backs?
Allah, leave them alone, dude. Like, come on, like angels are slapping people and their backs, like where in the back or the bum spanks. Hey, you naughty boy.
Oh my god, that's really funny. All right. Oh yeah. So this one you talked about before, right? It says in paradise they get rivers of milk and water and wine and all that and honey, right, and fruits and forgiveness. And in hell they get scalding water that sears the intestines. I don't even know why you need intestines if you're not going to be eating food.
Yeah, you're not gonna be pooping out stuff in Jen. I mean,
And
they're gonna.
you only get intestines in heaven. In hell, in heaven, you don't get intestines apparently because there's no poop,
Yeah.
right? Some like aliens in heaven without intestines and no poop, right?
But look at this verse. It's the irony of all ironies. Those in which they will have from all kinds of fruits and forgiveness from their Lord, like that of whose who abide it. And then he goes on to describe torture. This loving, forgiving God.
I know. We're supposed to say Bismillah before each one. A tree that boils your belly. Okay, there's a tree of Zakum. It is food for the sinful, like milky oil. It boils. You know, like what is Muhammad like doing that he's like writing this stuff? Like, what is going on with him? Like, why is he there, like talking about the tree of this and that and boiling water and clothes and like what is going on with his head that he's there like writing all this torture poetry?
Well, imagine that if he's like actually visualizing this or he's hallucinating these vivid images, these people eating these thorny plants, and then murky boiling oil. Like, what the hell? Like, I've heard some. So, one of the stories from the Pakistan military back in the day, I don't know if it's true or not, don't quote me on this, but my dad and his friends used to tell me that in Kashmir, they would take, those fryers for French fries? They'd put babies in them and fry them alive.
What?
Yeah.
What the hell?
That's what my dad told. But I mean, this is messed up too. I mean,
this is okay. Yeah, so you get to eat something that they says it's a tree that its fruit is like the head of devils or something. In other words,
yeah.
What does that even mean? You eating the head of a devil? Is that like a pork chop, like a head of a pig, or the head of a what is a head of a devil taste like?
I don't know if it's supposed to be like a spicy ghost pepper. What is going on? I'm like surprised. The only thing Allah didn't put in his menu of torture was spice. Because he even put cold. There's a part of hell that is so cold it's torturous.
Oh, does it talk about cold torture too?
Yeah, Zamharir, something like that in the Quran. Zamharir is a word for it.
But yeah. And here's what you were talking about, the mocking. Taste indeed, you are the honored, the noble. It's again like being like very childish.
So Allah, what the hell? Allah is pouring or having angels pour boiling water on people's heads. At the same time, taunt them. Taste these. You are the.
Here you go, king. Like what the hell?
This, have you seen the movie The Saw? The Saw series. Okay, and you can see that like Hollywood could like be inspired to make a psychopath some movie out of this. Holy.
I know, right? It's bizarre, right? Okay. And so we bald in head? Bald in hell?
By no means it will be the fire of hell. Taking away, burning completely the head skin. Damn. But the problem is that there's no pain receptors in the brain, eh?
Oh.
So here's the funny bit: how will the bubbling of the brain be painful? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know. Eh?
Just joking.
Someone's asking, is it the Quran or from Hadith that the tree that boils
You know,
your
this is all Quran, my friend.
Yeah, this is all Quran we're quoting. When you see a number that's like two numbers and then another two numbers or three numbers, that's quoting from the Quran. And these are Sahih International is a translation, Muslim Khan's a translation. These are all Quran words. When it's Hadith, it says like volume this, book that. So this is all Quran.
Yeah.
Where are we? Okay, so this one.
Face plant. Boom. Oops, what happened here? Indeed, the criminals are in error and madness. Wait, oh, what? Wait, I forgot totally this. That Allah literally calls unbelievers and as mad as crazy.
Oh wow.
That's a new insult I'll add to my list of insults that Allah calls us crazy while his prophet is writing it down to heaven or whatever. And the day they are dragged into the fire on their faces, taste the touch of sucker. So the sucker is one type of fire we initially talked about, but I don't like, what is this going on? Like, you throw them on their face and then the angels put the 70 cubit chains around them and drag them around like yo-yos in the hellfire. Like,
I know, right? It's weird. Like you said, it's not proportionate for sure, eh? Need a lip job.
What? The fire will burn their faces and they will grin.
Like,
gosh, man, like the imagery is just another level. Like, where's that? What's that? Dante's Inferno, was it?
yeah.
Oh, I mean, what do we?
I know. What do we say? Right? It's just torture porn at this point.
Torture porn. Oh man, I wonder what Muhammad's wives were like, and like, they have any interesting stories to corroborate?
I mean, this is weird. Like, this is like when you see it all at once, you're like, what the heck is going on in this guy's head that he could write all this? Like, I don't even like watching like certain types of movies, but like this is like too much. Hello, knock. All this, like, I don't even like watching. You gotta mute the movies, but like, yeah, I'm gonna mute you for a second. Mute the video, because when you're on the call, because otherwise we'll hear. You gotta mute the. Okay, I'm gonna mute you one more time. Last chance. You have to turn off the YouTube video when you're on the call with us. So just turn off the YouTube video. You can hear me from the other window. Okay. One more chance. Hello.
Hello. There you go.
Greetings. Hi. How's it going? Are you here? You have the air. You're on the air. 200 people are here. Would you like to say something?
Well, fuck your bitch, you fat motherfucker.
Okay,
that was really childish. You're putting loud music. Okay, bye. That was bad. Oh my god. And banned from studio. Okay, that was pathetic. Was that the kid that's like
comes in every time?
Cheerleader. Is that you, Zayn? Is that you? Was that you?
Want me to read Quran for you, buddy? I've been reading so many verses. I can recite for you right now. Come on, let's show the next slide. I'll recite for you.
Oh my god! I mean, I don't mind talking to people, but why be so petty like that? It's just, oh my god, Jesus! I'm calling the Lord's name in vain. I apologize. Okay. All right. Okay. So this is a noisy hell too, right? It makes a lot of moaning and groaning. Having an orgasm. It's like,
I'll read it in Arabic for him first. I'm not gonna recite it. إذا رأتهم من مكان بعيد سمعوا لها تغيظا وزفيرا وإذا ألقوا منها مكانا ضيقا مقرنين دعوا هنالك ثبورا لا تدعوا اليوم ثبورا واحدا ودعوا ثبورا كثيرا. Good. Was that good Arabic? This is a measure. Like, I don't know how this is relevant. Like, Actually, I've actually met people who contest that Sheikh Mashari, Rashid al-Afasi, and Sheikh Abu Bakr al-Shadri,
Yeah.
these melodious recitations of
Yeah.
haram because they imitate music.
I know. It just shows you when you go to extremes, like everything becomes haram, even freaking Quran.
Well, actually, here's another one. So there's this verse in Surah Ahzab where it says that the women should lower their voices in front of men. So many scholars in Pakistan I know of, I could name at least 4, told me that the voice of the woman is an aura and she cannot recite the Quran even in a nice voice in front of men.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's actually Quran recitations I've seen on YouTube where it's a woman and she actually recites nicely. It sounds nice. It's just it's unfortunate that, you know, in Sunni Islam, because Ismailism doesn't do that. But in Sunni Islam, women are not allowed to lead the prayers, not allowed to lead Quran in front of men, any of that stuff. In Ismailism, you know, women are allowed to lead the prayers, right? It's not totally different. It's so they don't get that sort of, they're not demoted like that, right? But Sunni Islam, unfortunately, they demote that. I just want to we'll take one more caller. I don't know how many slides we have left. I'm just going to read some comments in here. Exodus 21v20, who is a supporter, a financial supporter. Hey, thanks for your comment. I don't agree that Arabic sounds evil. I think that must be some association you have. There's many beautiful Arabic songs. There's many beautiful, like, I mean, there's a lot of beauty in Arab culture. I'm not anti-Arab in any way whatsoever. I think there's even the Quran, freaking Quran sounds beautiful. If you listen to Surah Faqaf, and some of the Surah Rambo and some of the other ones that we were planning to come out with, they sound nice. They actually sound nice. It doesn't sound evil. It's just, it's actually sing-songy, right? I mean, I know some of the letters are like, like you have to really like back of your throat almost. But appreciate your support, man. Thanks for continued donations. Okay, Jahannam talks and breeds. Laughing my
Yes, it actually talks and breathes, and there are hadith we didn't add. And Muhammad told us that the cold in the winter and the heat.
Yeah. It comes from hell, right?
Yeah.
The breath.
You have a fever, that's from the heat of hell too. So.
We should have covered those. Oh man, you know, when we start talking about it, all these things come to your mind, eh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
doing research, you don't think about it.
Yeah.
Hell sounds naughty. You might have to take a trip. Aladdin, hello.
Yeah, hello.
Can you hear
me? Oh, you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. You see, that's the first time I passed by your channel, actually. And I'm a Muslim, alhamdulillah.
Oh, wow.
That's the first time. I don't know how come I just passed. I saw it live, so I came in.
Oh, thanks for joining us.
I've been here for almost 15 minutes, past 15 minutes. So I've seen that your guest is very proud of his mustache, by the way. He's really proud of his mustache. He's so proud of his mustache. Huh? He keep blaming his mustache.
I gotta keep they tell me that when I was in Pakistan, some people
he's proud of his mustache, huh?
Big mustache and big nails to scare the other people away.
I would like to ask you something. I don't know. You said, "Oh my Lord Jesus." Are you Christian? Because you just Lord Jesus a while ago.
Oh, I said Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's part of the popular language that I grew up hearing because I grew up in Canada. But no, I'm not Christian. I'm atheist. I think.
Okay. So I'm just curious. What's the point of all this you're doing? I mean, you're trying to provocate Muslims somehow. I mean, the way you are using Islam or you're making fun of Islam, I don't think that it's acceptable for any normal mind, with all due respect to you. So what's the point of this? Are you trying to provocate Muslims or you're trying to...
So one point I'll reply to you is why we do what we do. So the point is, it's also that we as ex-Muslims are persecuted and punished with the death penalty almost in 13 Muslim countries, right? And we go through a lot. Then the Quran itself, now I'll ask you something that's very important to understand. The Quran itself, does it not insult me and many kuffar by calling them like donkeys, like dogs, like like disbelievers who are worse than animals? They're najas, they're filth. We came across a verse that calls this crazy. deaf, dumb, blind, loser, don't let them near Masjid al-Haram. So when Sharul Bariya as well, the worst of creation, when you put all of those together, our point today is to show you that when you mock an idea like hell, you bring out the absurdity. Okay? Now I'm going to ask you something important. Did not Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam go to Nimrud and then take his stick and break all the idols and then give the stick to the biggest idol and then say to him, when the people questioned him, it's you who did it. He said, no, ask the biggest idol. He was mocking their gods, right? But what was the point of that mockery? Because it brings forth a point and it highlights the absurdity. So,
and even Muhammad did more than just mock. He broke he committed blasphemy of the state religion. He broke the 360 idols. He sent armies to Ta'if. He sent armies to break the idols at Ta'if. And there was another one, Lat. I think it was a Lat? I forget. There was a few.
Says the one Kaaba he actually had destroyed as well. Yeah.
So can I say something? I'm just listening. I don't want to interrupt you. First of all, your name is Gondal. Gondal. I don't know where did you get the story that Abraham gave the stick to the biggest idol and he told him ask him. Does it say that in Islam? That he gave the stick to the biggest idol? Does it say that in Islam? Yeah. Does it say in Islam that Abraham gave the stick to the biggest idol and he told him ask the biggest idol? The stick is in his hand. No. Quran, I'm aware of what you are saying. I know what you're talking about. It doesn't say that he gave the stick to the biggest idol and he told him, ask him why he broke the idols with his stick. It doesn't say that. That's number one. Number two, for Mr. Abdullah Sameer.
Mm-hmm.
When you said, or your guest, you said that Islam is mocking believers, blah, 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 and you said he's insulting, whatever. You see, I don't know. Actually, you can't find the same terms in other Abrahamic religion. You can find it as well in Judaism and Christianity. So is it that you are pointing the fingers at Islam, but you are not pointing the finger at the other Abrahamic faith, which use the same terms and even used worse terms than that?
So that's
why Islam only?
Yeah, let me answer this one because he's asking me. Yeah, the story. Okay, about the story about the axe. I've heard this story as well. I don't know if it's in the Hadith or the tafsir of this surah. If you want to look it up, Gondal, for 2162, just to see, it's probably in the tafsir that says that the axe, he put the axe with the biggest one and the biggest one. I mean, whether or not he gave the stick to the biggest one or not is beside the point. The point is, it's actually quite offensive to break other people's idols and then to say your God did it, whereas they all know that these are actually not the actual gods that can walk around and break idols. They're supposed to be like a representation of a greater reality that they're worshiping. In terms of why do we talk about Islam, we can talk about whatever we want to talk about. I don't need to justify to you why I spend my time. It's my life. I can do what I want with my life. If I choose to talk about Islam, one second, I'm not done yet. I'm just going to mute you. Sorry. I don't have to justify what I do with my time. What I do because I think it's worth it. I believe that Islam is bad for the world. It has a lot of bad things in it. It's an inspiration for terrorism. It has misogyny against women. It has a multitude of unscientific and terrible ideas. It holds back the world from progressing morally, ethically. It has immoral values and teachings, for example, allowing children to be married. Many Muslim countries to this day, they don't allow, they will not reform the marriage laws because they say that Muhammad married a 9-year-old. So we cannot change this, because if Muhammad did it, then there's nothing wrong with it, right? To marry a child. And of course, other Muslims will disagree. Why do we not talk about, this is the last thing I'll say, and then you can respond. Why do we not talk about Christianity? Well, this is the first time you're coming on my channel. You've never heard of me before. How do you know I don't talk about Christianity? You don't actually know me. I wrote an article called Why I Believe Christianity is a harm for human progress. You can look up my website, abdullahsameer.com. I've debated Christian Prince. I had a conversation with him where I told him, dude, your Bible makes no sense. I was on a Christian channel big Christian channel with 200,000 subscribers in Indonesia yesterday, a lady came on the air called Jesus Christ Loves Me. And she's like, why are Muslims so illogical? Why are Muslims so illogical? I said, what do you mean they're illogical? They pray towards the Kaaba. That's dumb. Why they pray towards the Kaaba? I want to pray. Why do they have to pray 5 times a day? I pray whenever I want as a Christian. I said, Muslims can pray whenever they want too. There's no limitation that you can only pray towards the Kaaba. That's for the 5 daily prayers. But for the actual optional dua, you can do whenever you want. And I said, you're telling me your religion is logical? And I said, all religions are illogical. So I think, just to be fair, you shouldn't assume things about us if you don't know us. And if you want to ask if we are provoking Muslims, yeah, I think we're provoking Muslims to open their mind and to think about these things. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
So I found the tafsir of it's in a tafsir ibn Kasir of the same verse. It says that it was said that he put a hammer in the hands of the biggest idols. The people would think that it had become jealous on its own account and objected to these smaller idols being worshipped, so it had broken them. So.
Okay, so there you go. You got the answer to both of those. Do you have anything else you want to say?
You want to, may I speak?
Yes.
By the way, Gondal, tafsir ibn Kathir is in front of me. You want me to read it for you? I have it right in front of me for the verse that I have it in front of me in Arabic. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Does it say that he gave the steak to the biggest and he told him, ask him, why did you break that? Does it say that? Does it say that in the tafsir? No, does it? You came to a conclusion. You came to a conclusion that the tafsir says this. That's what you're trying to do. Okay. That's what you.
Okay, hold on. It's right here.
No, I'm not reading the English. I have the Arabic in front of me. With all due respect, I don't have the English. You want me to read you the Arabic? If you understand Arabic, I'll read it for you.
I read
the Arabic tafsir. I have it right in front of me. I'm aware of the verse that he quoted. Actually, Abdullah, you quoted the wrong verse. It was the next verse to the verse that you quoted. Okay, it's not the one you quoted.
Yeah, that's sorry.
Anyhow, let's go back. Mr. Abdullah, you know, when you said that you are, am I coming clear? When you said that you're really, when you said you're really trying to provocate Muslims, you said that right away, a while ago. So do you think that this is the right way to approach Muslims to something that you have in your mind? I mean, you want to give them a message. You want to relay something to them. You want to convince them in your way of life. Do you think the right way to do that is to provocate them, as you said? If I will try to provocate you, let's say right now, and I'll try to say something that will offend you, will you accept from me or will you deny me? You will reject me for sure. So why don't you change your method and try to approach Muslims in a better way so you will let them listen to you, not turn against you. So what you are doing here, you are trying to create a war between you and Muslims. In the way you are addressing them. No, honestly, I'm not trying to provocate you. See, I'm not trying to insult you. I can use the same terms that you used, might will provocate you or your friend, which will drive you away from you.
I'll say
which
something.
will make you get me out of this live stream because you won't like what I'm saying.
I'll say something to you. How we approach most different people.
It depends the way you approach them. Have a dialogue with them, like I'm having a dialogue with you. Have a dialogue with you with high respect, with manners.
You must how I'm nuanced in how I approach different Muslims. Can I explain that to you?
Please, I'm listening to you. Just feel free.
Okay, so
okay.
If I am talking to somebody who is, let's say, a person like Yasir Qadhi, or an academic, like a Muslim academic, the way I approach the issue would be completely different the way I would approach the issue with a random person on the street in Pakistan. Okay, there's a whole idea. I don't know if you know about street epistemology. There's this whole channel, and they do this thing too. So how I talk to a person who believes in the Quran only versus the one who is a Sunni versus who is a Wahhabi is totally different. Now, also what I'm going to tell you is this isn't the only form of how I communicate with Muslims, because I've engaged in many multiple dialogues with varying degrees. I've talked to Mufti Abu Layth. I've talked to a PhD from Columbia University in Islamic studies. I wasn't mocking them like this. In fact, in this show even, a lot of our streams aren't based on mockery. In fact, some of them are very serious. I've given a 2-hour, 40-minute presentation on neuroscience. It's not mockery, it's very academic. The point is that there's a time and place for everything, and even the Quran acknowledges that. where the Quran admits that at certain times, breaking the idols of the people is okay because that's the most effective or an efficient way to bring the point and absurdity forward. So that's the point. Why are we mocking hellfire? Because it's a depressing subject and it brings the absurdity out to people more. Okay? If we were talking about something like Quran preservation, it would be completely different in how we approach the topic. Anyway, that's all.
May I say something, please?
I'm just gonna add one thing, then you can talk. Again, you don't know us. Like, you don't know us. Go look up another channel, ex-Muslim channel, and compare it to my channel. You will see that my approach is totally different. But at the end of the day, if you choose to be offended, you can be offended. I'm offended by many things in the Quran. So what? Live and let live. That's what I have to say. Right?
Okay, may I say something?
Sure.
Okay. First of all, Mr. Gondal, I hope that I won't offend you. Please don't be double standard. You are a double standard person.
You're allowed to be offended, and he's allowed to be offended. Everybody's allowed to be offended.
You are a double standard person with two faces. With all due respect to you, for me, according to my understanding, I call this as a hypocrisy. If I'm talking with an academic, please allow me to finish. You see, if I'm talking to an academic man, like you mentioned some names of scholars, so therefore you will approach them in an academic way. But if you are talking to others, you won't. You see, you just admit that you're mocking them. But that's why I'm mocking them. So the point here, you know what I'm trying to say here? Why is it why don't you try to be? Why don't you try to be an academic?
Okay, here there's no local imam. Does he give the khutbah the same way he speaks to the person who asks him a question in his mihrab alone?
Gondal, please, I did not interrupt you. I did not cut you off. So can you please finish my point, please?
Oh, I thought you were done.
Finished.
Please, thank you very much. Thanks a lot. See, that's point number one. So why don't you try to approach all the same way you approach academics? So the academic speaker that you mentioned his name, Yasir Qadhi or something, he accepted talking to you according to you spoke to him. I don't know. You said that. So he accepted, I don't know, you mentioned some names.
Let
me finish, please. They accept to talk to you because you approach them in a better way. So why don't you do this when you talk to other Muslims? So you'll have the chance also to communicate with them. That's number one. Number two, you made a let me finish. You made a mistake when you said Qur'ani, Sunni, and Wahhabi. You said that. You see, they are different. They are Qur'ani, Sunni, and Wahhabi. So you divided Qur'ani from Sunni and Wahhabi. Do you know that Wahhabi? Let me finish, please. I'm trying to read the words that you are talking. I'm trying to repeat the words that comes out of your mouth, not my words. You said a while ago, different, like Qur'ani, Sunnis, and Wahhabi. So when you said Qur'ani, Sunnis, and Wahhabi, you divide them to three different groups. Wahhabi call themselves also a Sunni.
I know that.
So when you say Qur'ani, Sunni, and Wahhabi, you are trying to tell me that they are not Sunni. That's another mistake that you made.
You're playing a game of semantics. I don't want to get it. I know I can go into detail where there's the Deobandis from Deoband, there's the Barelvis from the Bareli Sharif, then they have Imam Ahmad Raza Khan, then there's Imam. I can
keep. You obviously have a lot to say, and you're going on and on. Like, either you let us respond. Like, we don't want to hear you ranting for 5 minutes. Like, just make a point and let us respond to it. He didn't say there's Quranis, Sunnis, and Wahhabis. That's not what he said. And yes, we know that. I used to be Salafi myself.
Yeah.
Right? Ahlul Sunnah. They call themselves Ahlul Sunnah wal Jamaat. And they believe they follow the righteous predecessors, right? The Salaf. Salaful Salihin. Yes, we know that. We're not saying they're not Sunni. We're not saying that. You're obviously... Okay, he's gone. Okay, he gave up.
Yeah, he was reading too much into things that feel a little way too much.
I was happy. Muslim call it, man. That's what we're doing. Like, we want, like, I want. I'm like, great. Now, I'm kind of.
We showed him our side at least. Like, we showed him the.
I think he's a little bit too butthurt, and I wanted to tell him. I wanted to respond to him. If you're still listening, buddy, don't tone police me. I'll say what the fuck I want. If you don't like it, too fucking bad.
Because guess what? Allah did the same thing, and he.
No. Guess what? This is my channel.
Exactly.
Don't like it, fuck off.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't need to justify. I don't need to justify to you. But I mean, I get if he's really giving us advice, he's not giving us advice.
He has
He's
no
totally
idea.
leading us. He doesn't know us, right? He doesn't know us. But anyways, that's okay. I think at the end of the day, as you can never be nice enough to these people, because as nice as you are, you'll still never be nice enough.
Here's the thing: his prophet breaking the idols is not being offensive.
It's not a problem.
Us. Oh. Anyways,
that was awesome. I think that was my favorite caller.
So far, yeah.
We need some more so we can do some Christian Prince like responses where we like bash them like Abdul, shut up, you Abdul. I will teach you what your prophet did. You Abdul, you stinky Abdul, you son of Muta. I will show you what your prophet did. You agree with what your prophet did, you son of Muta.
he's a character. I must admit, that's funny.
I would love to do that one day. Just to like let it all out.
Also, by the way, here's the funny thing. So the English version of Tafsir ibn Kathir is abridged and condensed and omits a lot of it, right? So tell that guy, didn't know your name, but do open the Arabic of Ibn Kathir to Surah Noon, Surah Qalam, verse 1. Noon wal qalami wa ma yasturun, and read the bottom and what it talks about the veil carrying the earth on its back. Have fun. That's not in the English version.
All right. I don't know if we should take one of the callers.
How many slides do we have? Where are we at? What number?
Okay. While you're checking that, we'll take Jason. Hello, Jason, Creator of the Universe. Man, I always want to talk to Creator of the Universe. You need to unmute your mic. Hello, Jason. Unmute your mic, please.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, hi.
Jason.
Oh, sorry, I thought Allah hacked my call.
How are you? You're gonna make the other caller mad. Stop making fun.
No.
Why is he on Xbox channel and getting mad? Like, if you don't like it, leave, buddy. Sorry, I'm done ranting.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you what you thought about religion in general, but you already answered that in the previous call. So
yeah. So
I can briefly.
Yeah.
Well, I have another question.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you think that religion makes people stupid?
No, not always.
What's your thoughts?
Okay, so there's a lot of layers to this question. So firstly, we have to go to quickly, how do you define religion? Is religion a bunch of cultural beliefs?
I mean, like basically the beliefs.
Okay, the supernaturalistic, like Abraham.
Yeah.
Religion in general, does it make you stupid? No, but there is overwhelming amount of neuroscientific and psychological studies that do, without a shadow of a doubt, generally put that the religious people do have lower IQs than their atheist counterparts. It could be up to 6 to 10 points. It's a lot of evidence for that. It's very well known. But then again, there are outliers. That does not mean to say that like Sir Isaac Newton, who believed in God, was an idiot as well. No. So there's compartmentalization of the brain as well. So you can be a very, very, very smart guy. Like you can be a neurosurgeon and whatnot, but you can be praying 5 times a day because the way the religion works and how it is in your brain, you can be a full functional scientist and it won't affect you. Would it be making people stupid in general? I guess that it's a very nuanced.
I mean, it doesn't make anyone less friendly or anything, right? I'm just talking about the intelligence in general. Like there are many friendly religious people, of course, but the intelligence,
Well, here's the thing: you can be an intelligent person. Your intelligence could be attested to by your other non-religious activities, like for example.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could define intelligence as well in a different way.
Exactly, right, and then that opens another way, like. I mean, if you're saying that the question should be how much does religious influence people's decision making and their thinking in general?
Well, right? It does influence them quite a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, it's a deep question.
So
yeah.
Well, I have one more question. It's a bit funny one. My parents used to say that I can't masturbate because it's in the Quran or something.
Ooh,
is it true? Like, no, I'm serious.
Yeah, so there is.
Your parents, you know what I think? I think your parents wanted you to read the Quran. They're like, yeah, I gotta find that verse of masturbation, so I'm gonna read the whole Quran now. That was the trick. I never said that. There's no such thing.
Or maybe they just tried to
Actually,
prevent
there
me from
is
doing that.
one aspect to it. So in Surah Mu'minun, the verse that says, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِفُرُوجِهِمْ حَافِظُونَ إِلَّا عَلَى أَزْوَاجِهِمْ أَوْ مَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُهُمْ فَإِنَّهُمْ غَيْرُ مُلُومِينَ. Those who guard their private parts except from their wives and their sex slaves. So some scholars have, I read this in Islam QA and a bunch of mufti sites back in the day when I was researching this exact question. And they say that this ayah has been used by many scholars to say that masturbation is haram because Allah allows you only with your wife or your sex slave, not by yourself. But then there are hadith, not hadith, there are sayings, if I remember correctly. You know, this is years back, attributed to, I believe it was Ibn Abbas, saying that he doesn't find anything wrong with it because it's just jelqing a muscle. But then the most absurd thing I've heard is that if you masturbate, your hand will become pregnant on the Day of Judgment. So there's that.
It just goes to show you that I mean, I'm just laughing that sex slavery is okay, but not that. What if you can't get a sex slave? Like, dude, like there's no slaves available nowadays.
You gotta fast, man. That's it.
That's fast. Okay, thanks, Jason, for your questions. Have a good night.
Yeah.
Okay,
Have a good
bye.
night.
All right, Dasin. Oh, I'm doing an order. Dasin, hello. Oops,
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you that, well, you mentioned that Islam is responsible for a lot of evil in the world, but I wanted to ask you, in your researches or in your past, what you know about Islam, is it responsible for anything good in the world?
Yeah, there are definitely lots of, I mean, nobody should make generalizations like that. Yes, there is definitely, I mean, if you look back in history, the 14th, 13th century, the Islamic Golden Age, I mean, without the Islamic Empire and the Muslim scholars translating those books, we wouldn't have the society we have right now, where Europe is in a dark age. But then you have.
But is that because of Islam, or is that because of human beings?
Exactly. That's where
or is that despite of Islam?
Exactly. That's where it comes in. So a lot of Muslims do cite that to. So yeah, I mean, there are lots of good, like the charity aspect of Islam. I really like the zakat, Baytul Mal. I mean, parents, respect of parents and the tightness of family ties, respect of families is good. There is a lot of emphasis on like not fighting or disagreeing with your fellow brother Muslims to keep the community intact and whatnot and avoid the conflict. But then it kind of drops out as soon as you go out of Islam, because the Quran constantly keeps affirming ashidda walal kuffar ruhama bainahum, that they're merciful amongst themselves but severe on the disbelievers and the hypocrites, right? So there's that issue too. Like I said, yeah, there's definitely good to it. We can't obviously say that all religion that Islam is given, there's a lot of good that's coming out of it too. So, but generally, like you can say that the 21st century majority of the discourse, or well, the manifestation of Islam has been very negative and very jihadist.
In general, yeah, I think, yeah, it's hard. It's honestly hard for me to think of anything, to be honest. Like, but I think what's his name? In his book on Muhammad, Reza Aslan actually mentions a bunch of stuff. One of the biggest ones he mentions was zakat. Zakat is actually like quite like progressive for its time. You know, the idea of like this universal charity that everyone has to give money to, and then. But I don't know. I'm not sure at what. I think overall it's a net loss for humanity. That's what I think.
I say like take the good, leave the bad. That's my
theory.
Yeah, and what do you think about? Well, there's a saying that you know, you catch more flies with honey. You know, what do you think about that? Like, I'm not sure that your approach is always going to be effective. You know, I guess it takes all kinds of approaches, but.
I have a lot to say about that. I actually made a bunch of videos on this topic.
So, for example, why am I mocking the specific aspects of hell today? Is because hell is a depressing topic, and nobody wants to have us sit here and talk about people being. we gotta lighten it up, and a lot of people have issues with the topic. So hearing about hell from a humorous perspective helps a lot of people with anxiety and stuff. Now, talking about the approach, right? For example, like we have made so many different styles of videos. I mean, where do I even begin? Like, we've done academic presentations, hours long, that have been absolutely devoid of mockery and stuff. It's just been academic. And there's been presentations where we've talked about very sensitive issues like sex slavery and whatnot, and we had to be very careful and whatnot, and we've addressed racism in the religion and all that. So, I have talked to Mufti Abu Lais. He's a scholar. I mean, his style obviously has his own cheerfulness to it. But then I did talk to Dr. Hassan Azad from Columbia University, who's a PhD in Islamic studies. I talked to another Muslim friend, and I also talked to the director of Ask a Muslim Canada, Umar Abdul Fattah, who actually is a TEDx speaker as well. So if you were to do a survey of our content, myself and Sameer, you'll realize that we are not the one kind of person that all he does is just yell, "Oh, Muhammad rode the beast to heaven," or "Muhammad is a pedophile," and that's all we do. No, we like I've recorded recitals of poetry from Muhammad's contemporary time before, and Sameer has done so much work too. He has a huge blog. If you should look into it too. Like, there's a whole different way of writing an argument, right? So.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about this, and I've changed my views on it a lot. I'm not going to repeat the whole thing that I said, but it was after an interview with Amin Nawabi and Ali Rizvi on secular jihadists, and talking to apostate prophet, and I realized that my approach, which was, if you go back like 4 years, you'll see my approach was very different. I didn't mock, I didn't do anything like that. I was just very respectful. But even then, I still got told, you are mocking, you are belittling, you have no right to talk about the religion this way and this and that. Anyways, but I think that the different approaches have impact in different ways. We need Martin Luther X, and we need the Malcolm. I'm mixing up the names. I'm tired. Martin Luther King, and we need the Malcolm X's. We need the Rosa Parks. We need all different types of people working together to make the world a better place. The world's not going to get a better place just from the soft approach. And frankly, apostate prophet, in some ways, has actually had much more impact than me, even though his style is extremely mocking. Like, if you see his videos, he's like straight up making fun of Islam. But in some ways, he's actually done more than me, right? I mean, I don't know if as many people left Islam because of him than like
One thing I want to add is, a lot of times the content has to be structured for the audience it's intended for, and not necessarily how I personally would approach the subject. So that's very important to keep in mind. And yeah, that's just one thing I wanted to add.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for the advice, but we've been doing this for a long time now. I started the blog in 2015. Gondal, I can't remember when I started talking.
3 years almost now.
Yeah, it's been a while, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'm not really trying to give you advice so much. I just really wanted your thoughts on it. And I mean, I'll kind of tell you a little bit about my background really quickly. I know maybe you have other callers, but I was raised a Christian, and then I became more atheistic. And I just found, as I began sharing that with other people, I was not really getting anywhere. And it really damaged my friendships and my family relationships. So I'm not sure that, I mean, there's always going to be an audience out there, but I'm not sure that progress really is possible, and it just becomes kind of frustrating. And I look at guys like Matt Dillahunty and stuff who've been doing this for years, and things haven't really gotten any better, it doesn't seem to me. So anyway, I'll let you guys answer that, and then I'll let you get on to another call. So thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your call. Thanks for calling in.
Okay, bye.
Bye. I would disagree that things haven't got better. Things have got, dude, I left Islam. I mean, Matt Dillahunty had a big influence on me. And like, look what I'm doing. It's a matter of, I think it's a subjective calculation at the end of the day, as in are things getting better or not? I think things are getting better. I think more people are leaving behind outdated beliefs that are, flawed mythology, and The world is like, if you just look at numbers in terms of like incomes, and you look at the wealth gap, it's in some ways is going down. It's still huge in many countries, but like the average family now, the wealth in the world has gone up from before. So we have less people starving in the world today than ever before. We have, less, but then at the same time, we have the rise of a lot of pseudoscience and a lot of conspiracy theories, flat earthers, anti-vaxxers. There's a lot of bad things coming up and becoming popular as well. So I guess there's some wins and some losses, but overall, I think we're better off today than ever before.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to quickly comment on just the ex-Muslim movement in general. Like the issue of dissent and blasphemy in Muslim countries is a huge topic. I don't know if people realize, but living in a Muslim country and being an atheist or an ex-Muslim is literally living in a jail and being suffocated from the inside out. But just to give you an idea, 10 years ago, like the ex-Muslim movement was nowhere. Like you Google ex-Muslim or anything again, it's not there. But now, 10 years later, you write ex-Muslim and there's just videos upon videos. YouTubers in every part of the world are popping up. I know like 6 in Pakistan now, like unimaginable. So there is definitely progress. At the same time, you have to realize that we can't view from a very closed lens. We have to be from a broader perspective, a more holistic perspective from a global scale as well. Like, yes, things have gotten worse in the US, but in Pakistan and Iran, irreligiosity has grown a lot more. But there's a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know how much time you have left, Gondal. It's getting close to it's already 12 o'clock. So we should kind of wrap this up.
Slides, yeah.
Yeah, we should finish the slides. Okay, and some people are still waiting. We'll try to take some quick calls. Let me do a couple of slides. Let's do some couple slides, and then we'll take a couple more calls, and then we'll end off because we're over the time. That Muslim guy took a lot of time.
All right, so this one talks about hand biting. So here Allah says, on that day, Allah will have belonged to the most beneficent. It will be a hard day for the disbelievers. And remember the day the zalim will bite at his hand. He will say, oh, would that I had taken a path with the messenger. Oh, I would have not taken, woe to me, not taken that guy as a friend. So basically, the guys will see the torture and punishment or be sentenced to go into hell, and they'll be so sad that they'll start biting at themselves out of, oh my God, it's hard to imagine. And and he will then curse himself, why I took this guy as a friend to take me away from the path of Allah. It's just, what, cannibalistic porn now? Like,
Alright, so iron collars will be rounded on the necks and the chains, and they'll be dragged along. Okay, more dragging, more chains, more collars. Just starting to remind. Now I know that Muhammad hijab got all this.
Yeah, maybe that's why.
Maybe it's from the Quran. In the boiling water, they will be burned in the fire.
Wait, one can say Allah founded BDSM, the biggest.
These two opponents dispute each other about the Lord, and for those who disbelieve, garments of fire. Okay, garments of fire. So Allah is saying you debating with the atheistic dude. Well, atheism didn't exist back then, but the polytheist is debating with the Muslim, and he's saying, well, the polytheist is gonna.
Hello. Oh, it seemed like Abdullah Sameer's connection dropped out, but we'll keep going. So it says, these two opponents dispute with each other about their Lord. Then as for those who disbelieve, garments of fire will be cut out for them, and boiling water will be poured over their heads. So Allah will make molten lava shards for them, and then pour water that's boiling on top of their head.
Yep.
You're back. Okay. You lost you for a few seconds, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I just realized. I think I unplugged my cable. Sorry about that. Yeah, no, I was just saying. If you're disputing about God, does that mean you deserve to be thrown in hell? I mean, obviously, if you're disputing, it means you don't believe it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't make sense. You should not be punished for questioning something that you obviously don't believe to be true.
Sorry. No, go ahead. I'll add out.
I was just gonna say there's no logic here. It's just bashing you on the head for being wrong.
That's really, really weird. Now, this is the part of the Quran that used to make me cry like a lot when I was a Muslim, and it was very weird. And there's this Sheikh Mishari recitation that is very famous for him weeping like a baby, and it's in Surah Fussilat, and it's about وقالوا لجلودهم لما شهدتم علينا قالوا أنطقنا الله أنطق كل شيء وهو خلقكم أول مرة وهو إليه ترجعون. That, and on that day something like their hands and their skins and their ears and their body parts will testify against them for what they used to do. So your body parts will speak out against you. It's just some weird anime
I
stuff.
know, isn't it funny? It's like, oh no, one of them says the mouth will be sealed and the hands will talk. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
What did you say? He made me steal. Shut up, you stupid hand! Stop giving up the secret. Bad hand. Like, it's like your body parts, and then your eyes will be like, he looked at haram, and you're like, shut up, eyes! You're gonna get us in trouble. And the mouth is like, yeah, he was like cursing the prophet, and you're like, shut up, mouth! We're gonna be burned. Like
Maybe that's why they were biting their own hands preemptively before the hand. Oh yeah, but you can't die, and then the limbs can regenerate. It's Allah, you know, like, whatever. He killed death in a ram's form.
Yeah, death is killed, right?
Oh, Goopy intestines and Captain Hook. What? Oh, Allah says in the same continuation, with it will melt or vanish away what is within their bellies, as well as, like, what is this 3D? Like, imagine this. Like, you're pouring this stuff in their head and it's melting in their bellies and their skin. So you have these weird skeleton-looking people that are then, and for them are hooked rods of iron. And then every time they get away from it, from anguish, from pain, they will be driven back therein, and it will be said to them, taste the torment of burning. But, and then, Alhamdulillah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. He's the most merciful, but he's also Al-Qahhar, Al-Jabbar, but he freaks out a little bit too sometimes.
Yeah. Do I have anything to add to that? No, just again, I love that you actually mentioned this whole thing about like
the taunts.
Yeah, taunting them. It's just like, come on, give me a.
There's this one part where the water pouring comes up. That's really sad.
Okay, ninja fire and hot facials.
This one says, if only those who disbelieve knew the time when they will not be able to ward off the fire from their faces, nor from their backs, and they will not be helped. Nay, it is a fire, the day of resurrection will come upon them all of a sudden, and will perplex them, and they will have no power to avert it, nor will they get respite. Oof, 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 oof. So Allah is going to torch their faces, and then he's going to spank them on the booty. And then he's going to surprise them with some ninja fire.
Okay.
Oh my God, why is he torching faces? Stop melting people's faces, man. It reminds me of that movie Faces of Death.
Yeah, I know, eh? It's like, come on, give me a break.
Oh wow, yeah. So this is going to be a fire chamber, walls of fire surrounding him. And then on top of that, he will be given water like boiling oil that will burn his face. Ah. Oh, wow. Let's go. And yeah, then we will take some callers after.
Commando crawl to the fire. Okay. I'm just want to summarize this. Okay. What is this?
So it talks about
you'll gather them on the day of resurrection on the faces.
Blind, dumb, and deaf.
This reminds me, we didn't talk about this, but there's a hell. Oh, I mean, we missed this. There's a bridge over hell. The yeah, the one that resembles the Zoroastrian Chivanat Bridge, where you walk over it, and if you're Muslim, you walk over it really fast, and if you're a bad guy, you walk over slowly and you fall down. And then we didn't talk about the hadith where Allah puts his leg in the fire and says, enough, enough. People in the fire. I'm only thinking about these things while we're talking about it. Damn.
All this come rushing at you. Like,
I know. And it's been what, like so many years. Okay, let's continue. Seared meat. Okay. Oops, sorry. And the day will be heated in the fire of hell and seared therewith, like a roasted steak, I guess, or something like that, right? Oh, this is about stealing the zakat money.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah.
yeah, Muhammad didn't like people stealing the goats and the camels. So apparently, whoever steals a goat, it'll show up on the back on the Day of Judgment, trampling them. There's a hadith like that, right? It's very creative, you have to say,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Or who doesn't pay the zakat, I guess. Pumpkin spice latte. Purulent water. Is that what you think of pumpkin spice latte? You don't like it, eh?
It's actually my masida is translated as pus in a
Yeah.
yeah.
He'll
So
gulp it, he'll be hardly able to swallow it, and death will come to him from so don't swallow, so no swallowing allowed in paradise. He won't be able to swallow.
in health, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm tired. It's past midnight here. Okay. And before him is massive punishment. Okay. You imagine you'd get bored of being punished after a while, but like, okay,
Like, well, that's why it's creative, man. Hey, you're tired of just being whipped by angels in the bum? Where do you go? Eat the thorny fruit. You're tired? There's some hot boiling oil for you.
yeah. Okay, so yeah, this is just more of the same. There'll be
More shackling, more fiery clothes, and more face burning. Oof.
Okay, this one is interesting. No water for you. So the companions of the fire will call upon companions of paradise, put upon us some water. They'll say, no, indeed Allah has forbidden them for the disbelievers. So no water for you. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It just shows you that people in heaven will not be
nice.
They will not nice. Yeah. All right, burn the insides. Do we need to read this? It's just the same thing again, I think. Spank the backsides. Oh, we talked about this, right?
Well, it's just Allah reminds him again. Spanking the burning fire.
All right. Wow, there's so much of this. Oh, this is the last slide.
Oh, we're done.
Okay, good. So we can take the callers then. All right. So that's it. That's a wrap for all of the slides, all of the presentation on hell and Islam. Now we'll take the callers, and there's going to be no new callers, so don't call now. If you're not already online, you're not going to be taken. Your call's not going to be taken. Hello, Alexander Logos. We have to make it quick though. One question. That's it. A comment.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. I would like to ask: have either of you ever had a supernatural experience?
I would say that I thought it was supernatural, but then later on I realized it wasn't. It was just my bias feeding into it. I mean, yeah.
That's actually really strange because I look back and the experience only makes sense now in light of what I know of jinn.
Interesting. I mean, I think that based on where you live and based on what you've been taught, you'd be more likely to think that. I remember when I was younger, my cousin told me she thought the cat was a jinn, her cat, because she didn't understand how the cat got in the house when all the windows were locked. So
well, I own 2 cats, and I can see how she might have thought that.
I have 2 cats as well. But yeah, I can't think of any experiences. I know in Pakistan, people have these experiences all the time, but apparently when you come to Canada,
I'm one of them.
So yeah, because we don't have a lot of time, we'll just have to leave it at that. But thank you for your call. That's a really cool display image you got there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye.
All right, Abrahamic Myth, hello.
Hi.
Hey.
I don't actually have a question, but it's more of I just wanted to say that a lot of people are actually scared from Islam themselves because it's just the way that they're being persuaded and being scared off by the visions of hell and Quran and all that crap. It actually prevents you from even thinking about what you're reading. And I gotta say, for all the past years of my life, when I was reading the Quran, I was just reading it for the sake of reading it. I never even thought about the content of the Quran, what it's actually saying, or compared to the verses and the contradictions in it. There's actually a lot of things wrong, contradictions, story logical errors, and scientific errors. A lot of things. And besides, the Quran itself actually says that you shouldn't ask too much. So I guess that's why a lot of Muslims don't actually ask it. It says, "Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la tas'alu an ashya'a in tubdu lakum tas'akum." So yeah, basically that's why they don't they don't actually ask, and they fear asking anything. And there's actually something that a lot of people don't know, that Islamic history as well is really forged. Like, I think 50% of it is actually forced. Like, when we take into account, for example, the story of the Isra and Mi'raj, I think it is clearly forced, because you don't really see that in the Quran itself. It just says he went from the to the Al Masjid Al Aqsa. That's all. So in the
But can I add something here about the
Yeah.
night journey? So there's a Zoroastrian priest, Arphavedas, who had an identical night journey 300-400 years before Muhammad, whose book was written
Yeah.
everything. And Imam Bukhari is Persian, hence he borrowed that story into it.
Exactly. Yeah. It is actually in Zoroastrianism, and even the word itself, Mi'raj, which is not found in Surah Al-Isra, Mi'raj in Persian actually means su'ud, like going up. So the origin of this story is actually in Zoroastrianism, which is a Persian religion, as we know, and the Abbasids themselves were mostly Persians, as we know. So they've taken a lot of Persian myths and sort of like blended them in with Muhammad's story, and that's where we got today, I suppose. So, and there is an interesting thing. I'm not sure if you guys know about this or not, but Muhammad's name in the Quran is only mentioned in Medinian verses. And that imposes a question, like, was his name Muhammad at first? Why is his name not mentioned in Meccan verses? Like, it's mentioned 4 times as Muhammad and 1 time as Ahmed, and all of them are in Medinian verses.
Thank you so much for your
That is
comment
very interesting.
and your reflection. It's very interesting. Yeah, you should definitely call back again, because you have a lot of
Speaking of
interesting
the
thoughts there.
Miraj, I was thinking we need to do a reaction video next time to the 36-minute Yasir Qadhi whole Miraj. That's hilarious.
Oh yeah.
We'll do
Okay.
that.
Yeah. Thank you, Abrahamic Myths. Do call in again. You guys
You're
do have some
welcome.
really interesting things to say. We really appreciate it. We just want to end off now before the last call is. Thank you.
Okay, see you.
Okay, bye. Hello, Religion.
Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Wow. Yeah. Well, I'm a big fan of you guys' content, and I'm always watching it on my girlfriend's bed and telling her, acting like I'm lying, I just like to hear different perspectives and stuff, because she's Muslim. I'm Somali. She's Pakistani.
Are you Muslim as well?
I wouldn't call myself that. Maybe culturally Muslim, well, obviously I'm not, because you have to submit your will to God, right? That's the notion of Islam.
Yeah.
But no, so obviously I don't have any beliefs, but it's awkward. I just wanted to really talk to the audience. Like, I deal with mental illness, major depressive disorder. I've had a hard life, and growing up as a kid from refugee status, and us as Somalis, we had a dictator who banned hijab, and now all of a sudden we live in probably one of the most Islamic communities. It's hard out here, man. The mixture of mental illness and the way it plays with religion is really fucked up. And I'm with anybody who has issues. And another thing too is like, when we talk about Prophet Muhammad and we talk about these religious figures, me starting to learn about mental illness and stuff, it was really creepy how similar their experience were to the people who were showing up to my psychiatrist's office. They said the same things about hellfire you guys are talking about. I see images of people's face melt. Oh, damn, bro, stop screaming in my ear. I didn't even get coffee yet. And then you guys over here are just describing the same story. I wanted to hear your quick opinion on that, and I'll say the second part. I'll leave. I'm sorry.
Do you work? You said you work in a psychiatrist's office. I didn't catch that.
Oh, no, I have a psychiatrist. You have.
Okay.
Yeah.
And can you say where you live?
I live in Seattle, Washington.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So for my side, like you said, he's referencing about Muhammad being crazy.
I mean, yeah, I don't even want to say crazy, but he
yeah. So in the Quran, there's at least about 9 or 10, I would say 10 verses where he's accused of either being possessed or crazy or something like that by his contemporary in Mecca. Right. So the people around him saw something was up with him.
Yeah.
They constantly berated him as crazy. Like there was verses like they would strike you down with their like gaze and say, "Indeed, he is mad." Right. So there's verses like this. So first step, that's the thing. Now, when not going into too much detail, if you want, I did a 2-hour, 40-minute presentation on the neuroscience of Muhammad. Because guess what? I did neuroscience.
Yeah, I kind of watched a little bit. I watched a lot of it. Sorry about that. Yeah, that's where I got a lot of my ideas from. Actually, that's why I'm a fan of your content. Yeah.
So that, and then there's a couple of books actually. There's one book called Life Alert by Dr. Dedek Korkut. He's a Turkish neuropsychiatrist who's written a whole book specifically on Muhammad. And there's an Iranian, U.S. trained neuropsychiatrist with 36 years of experience, Dr. Abbas Sadrian. I hopefully pronounce his name correctly. He wrote a book called The Sword and Seizure, and he also diagnosed Muhammad with temporal epilepsy. So there's a lot of weightage to this argument. Again, you can go into detail, but this seems like, I feel, in my personal opinion, if the assertion given that some of what the conditions of Muhammad were reported to us in literature are true, then the most likely explanation is epilepsy, temporal lobe origin, and that this theory has the most explanatory power to explain a lot of what Islam is.
Yeah, and the second part was just, I know I was all over the place with mental illness and religion. What I was really talking about was, to your audience, is like, a lot of us coming from extremely religious homes, we can suffer a lot of abuse, and that might induce mental illness. Not saying that there's something wrong with people. It's just, if I keep beating at you psychologically, it's gonna put you in a bad place. And yeah, seek out help. Make sure you guys get in contact with resources. You're not alone. And I really wanted to say this. I know we are big fans of secularism and Western, I don't want to call them Western values, but it's hard being an atheist even in America. You know what I mean? Like the average white American, they don't see atheism in a positive light, and it's absolutely, insane. Like, you really are socially ostracized, and it can really lead people down a dark path. I promise you guys, there's people in your chat right now who are depressed, suicidal. I mean, when you leave religion, and religious people, man, like, my parents chose religion over me. Okay, my parents kicked me out because I got my ears pierced. They thought I was gay. You know what I mean? My parents, I was in college, school night, no resources, living in my girlfriend's apartment. Like, this shit, like, after a while, man, like, my mind started to really break down. It's a lot of pressure. Even my auntie, who doesn't wear the hijab, she had a nervous breakdown. Religious people are harsh, man. So anyways, sorry for the long call. Just, yeah, people, get your resources, and I hope everybody does well. We'll continue the good fight.
Thanks for the call, man. I hope best of luck for your future, and I hope things get better for you.
Yeah.
And thanks for calling. It was a very well call, and thanks for speaking up about mental health.
Yeah.
I know people don't know, but leaving religion is very traumatic for a lot of people. It's a whole phenomenon. It's some people get PTSD from it because they grow up. It's everything you knew, you believe, just crumbles in front of you. So
yeah, and
man, we're in this
point right
we'll
there.
keep fighting your fight. We'll keep going, and hopefully we can spread the word.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your call. And it just, Somali ex-Muslims have some of the toughest battles. Somalis and Pakistanis, I know those two communities, and that's others as well. But Somali ex-Muslims have it tough, man. And so really appreciate what you said, and we'll have to leave it at that. Do call in again, because you have some really interesting insights. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Have a great one, guys.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
Aladdin, hello. Uh-oh, don't tell me no sound again. Oh, there we go. Unmute. I see muted. Oh, there we go.
I was just still lazy to get out of the StreamYard and go to YouTube again. I don't want to hold you guys anymore, so if you want to...
Okay, all right. Yeah.
Yeah,
We got 2 more callers, and then we're gonna shut down because we're way past the deadline now. Thank you so much. Do email me about that interview or whatever, and we'll talk. Thanks.
We'll talk. Definitely. Thank you both. Thank you for a good show, a good conversation. Bye.
Thanks. Bye. Hello, Mr. STJ.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thanks for having me here. I just woke up in Riyaste Medina, so called.
Oh,
So
whoa, Medina.
yes. So Riyaste Medina of so called handsome. Now you can get it.
So,
I am the guy who talked to some days ago in Insta. Well, you got remember.
To me?
Yeah, to you.
I talked to
Yeah, Abdullah Sameer to you.
Okay.
So
So I don't remember. I talked to so many people. So we
yes, so
running out of
actually,
time though. So you got to make it quick.
actually, I want to just talk about I just saw that two big kafirs are talking about something serious. So I thought join and talk somehow. So I want to ask from Abdullah Gondal, so my favorite man of my clan, that what is the hell in other belief systems? Concept of hell in other belief systems.
Okay,
Just
so we
in
did talk about this briefly about how the concept of hell evolved, like the valley of Gehinnom, and then it became in Judaism, and then it evolved slowly when it got to Christianity and the post-Christian writings, till it got to Muhammad, and then Muhammad's version of hell is like we see quite vivid in image. The imagery is quite gory. There are, like I said, different versions. We didn't go into too much detail. I'm not too well versed with how hell is in like Hinduism. I don't think Buddhism has a concept of it at all. I've heard that there's a concept of like Narg in Hinduism, like some form of like hell, but
yeah.
I don't know the details.
So the people who live in cold weather and they have the other type of concept of hell, the freezing hell and that type of thing.
Yeah. There's a
I
quote by some I forgot who said it, that if horses had a religion, then the god would have a head of a horse, right? Like that.
So one thing more, Mr. Abdullah bhai, I just want to ask that the hell concept is like in some. I just read this all the ayats and it's look like a god to me literally, and that the concept you were talking about earlier, that the concept of pur sirat is called in Islam pul sirat, and you have to fire and you have to cross it, and it's thin like an hair and that thing,
The bridge,
and that is also borrowed from a Zoroastrian concept.
Yeah, we talked about that actually. Yeah.
And what do you think that this all the type of verses are revealed after the so-called journey of Muhammad of Miraj?
Like which verses?
All of them, he's saying. I usually scholars classify it as Medina and Mecca, not post Miraj and pre Miraj. I don't know if that.
Yeah. I want to ask you the post Miraj and pre Miraj, the concept of brutal hell, which is mentioned in Quran.
No, the hell was prevalent before the Mi'raj incident as well in the Quranic surahs. Yeah, we do see that.
Yeah, I've never heard of people using Miraj as a way of like classifying before and after. But I have to let you go now. Thank you so much for your call. Thank you so much. Good night. Last call. Metalhead. Hello.
Hey guys,
Thanks for being patient and waiting. You waited a long time, and you will get the last word and before we close off.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So I have two questions.
You go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead. We want to finish now. Come on.
Yeah. So I recently left Islam, and I'm just 17.
Nice. Okay. And your question? That's
So-
good for you. Yeah.
How do people like Shabir Ali, who are like smart, but they still believe in Islam even after knowing that that Quran actually contains so much scientific mistakes?
Okay, so I mean, I talked about this before a little bit. I think there's many different ways that people stay in Islam. Some of it is cognitive dissonance. Sometimes is they don't want to lose what they have because they have too much now. I don't know about Shabir Ali, but I know, for example, Yasir Qadhi, he's like, he's all of his livelihood, all of his money, all of his respect and status and everything in his life is because of Islam. If he leaves Islam, he will be like a pathetic loser that nobody cares about anymore. So I don't think he would ever want to leave Islam because it would mess up his life. Right? I mean, unless he has a true, really, really courage, strong, determined will to go against the mobs that'll come after him. Otherwise, I think why would he bother? I mean, I think that's what it is.
If he leaves Islam, his life is gonna be in huge threat.
Yeah. Already he has ISIS trying to kill him.
Rushdie, man.
Exactly. He'd be like Salman Rushdie, worse than that, right? So I think that's the problem. Already he has death threats, and already he has ISIS wants to kill him. So I think it'll just get worse from there. And I don't think he would want to. And if ever thought Islam was false, he could just continue pretending being an imam. And right? Like he wouldn't lose anything. Unless it wouldn't be the good way to live and the honest thing to do. But I think that's just basically. And some people, they just find ways to make it. They compartmentalize their belief in a certain corner of their brain, and they're just able to make it work somehow. You have like really good scientists that are also Christian will believe in a young Earth, and you're like, how did
They're the head of the cosmology department?
You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense. Those two things are like mutually exclusive. They should be, but somehow our brains have evolved in order to hold contradictory information in them. So,
yeah.
And congratulations on leaving Islam. I know it's not easy. It sounds like you're in a Muslim country. I don't know.
You're just how old are you? 17, you said?
17.
Yes.
Okay. Which country are you from?
I'm from India, but I live in an Islamic country.
Okay. So just to, because I know I understand that when you leave Islam, you have a lot of energy and zeal to express your ideas, but just be very, very, very careful that I know it's a very emotionally stressful time when people leave Islam. Just try to keep calm. Do not mention your beliefs to your family even. Be very careful who you talk to. Use a VPN. Make sure to protect yourself. I've heard enough horror stories from my classmates and whatnot in Pakistan, stuff that happens. So I just don't want anything happening, and just be very, very careful. Okay.
Yeah, right now I'm using VPN.
Okay, that's good.
Thank you for your call, Metalhead. Have a good night. Morning. Bye.
Morning. No,
Okay. Final words from you, Gondal, and then I'll just make the typical ending comments, and then we'll
from my side, I mean, it clearly shows that fear is an effective tool of manipulating people. As people mentioned in the stream, that while you're reading the Quran, you constantly, even I used to cry about when I came across verses of hell. A lot of shuyukh cry and salah and tarawih and whatnot. And the whole point of these verses is when you instill fear, like I said earlier, fear shuts down the frontal cortex and the rational part of the brain, so you can't think. So when you have people traumatized with such vivid, threatening imagery, you are holding them in the palm of your hand. You can manipulate them. And that's the very, very important thing. Plus, the psychological damage this causes to children is immense. Like, I remember I had issues for a while, like get into grips with the imagery. My parents warned me, my grandfather warned me, don't read about this in detail. People pass out sometimes. I've seen instances of that, like crying and just passing out from the stress. It causes people a lot of trauma, insomnia. Some people are just so scared of hell they can't go to sleep. Nightmares. It's just pure old scare tactics. And it's the one thing you need to remember is when you read all of these verses is keep reminding yourself after every verse that this guy who's writing these verses, or the speech of the God you're talking about, this is the epitome of mercy and justice. It cannot get better than this. And what is the epitome of mercy and justice? Is psychopathic, crazy, sadistic torture with oil pouring on your head, making your bellies blow up, your skin on your hairs in your head burn away, and hook you with iron rods and 70-cubit chains. Yeah, just stop at that.
Absolutely wonderful way to end off the show. thank you everyone for watching and for joining us again. And we'll try to make this more regular, because I know that a lot of people have been saying, why haven't you guys done this in a while? We've just been busy with many things. This is also going to be uploaded in podcast format to iTunes on the existing podcast I have, the Abdullah Sameer podcast. If this continues for long enough, we'll make a new one, but there's not that many people that are using the podcast, so it's just going to go there. And it's quick and easy for me to just, throw it on there. So please do check that out. And if you want to listen to this and you don't have the premium YouTube, so you can't just listen to it on the go, then you can always download this in podcast format on the Abdullah Sameer podcast. Please rate the podcast, leave it a 5-star review. We want to get up in the top 10 for Islam, next to Zakir Naik, next to Mufti Menk. We want people to search for Islam podcast and see the Abdullah Sameer show and the two Abdullahs. So this is what we want, and this is what we're hoping to have in the top 10. And if you're new, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you for donating. Those of you who want to donate to the show, you can do so even if you weren't watching it live. There's a link. The link is below. It's abdullahsameer.com/blog/the two Abdullahs call-in show. It's in the description. Please do support the show financially as well. This is an independent project. It's not related to the rest of the stuff I'm doing, so it's standalone. And to all the callers who called in, both the Muslims and the non-Muslim, and even the guy that was calling us hypocrites or whatever and never heard of us and telling us how we should be doing this dawah, thank you so much. We do appreciate the call.
We should have shown him Muhammad Hijab videos and asked him, what do you approve of?
Do you agree with this guy, how he's doing his dawah? And anyways, and I wouldn't be, he sounded like he might have been Egyptian. I don't know if I got that accent right or wrong, but we do appreciate the calls, and we want more Muslims to call. This is what makes this thing fun. If we're just talking to ex-Muslims and atheists, and that's one thing, and it's cool, and we can support each other and do all that. But talking to Muslims, this is when the things really clash, and then that's when you can actually get like progress and move forward with the ideas. So thank you, everyone. Have a good night, Abdullah Gondal, and have a good day for the rest of you on the other side of the planet and other side of the flat Earth. When different time zones. Actually, it's probably night for you guys too, because the angels just came down Allah came down to the lowest heaven.
You saw a shooting star and the genie being chased by it. Have a good night, people.